Well, I hope that worked. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Conspiracy or Not Here We Come. As I reload the page and make sure everything is working. Episode of Conspiracy or did it work? Allison is here, and it did work. The promo worked.
Yes,
With
yes, I was
sound.
going to say it did.
Okay. Hey, Allison, it's in your email, hon. I told you it would be in your email. It's been there for 25 minutes. If you're having trouble with your email, I can drop the link here in the chat, which should make it easier on you. And let me just go and grab a fresh copy. And then I'll delete it as soon as you get in here. But do me a favor and get in here quick so that I can delete this link. There it is, Allison. Come on in. All right, everybody. So, hey, Richard Madison. Welcome, everybody. As people filter in, there's I want to say hi to Amy and let you guys know I got a message from Gandalf. I don't think he'll be making it. He left me a...
Hi.
There she is. Okay, I can delete this link. Hi, Allison.
Hi,
Hey,
how you doing?
hey, Allison. How are
Hey,
you?
Amy.
How are
Great.
you?
Doing great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, you sound just fine.
Hi, let me just shut off the other one then. Put the sound off. Okay.
Okay, so people are filtering in. Hey, James, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let me just make sure I have all my ducks in a row. I just as you were coming in, I was letting everybody know that we probably will not see Gandalf tonight because he left me a message um, on one of my videos. I guess he was using his cell phone. He said he probably won't make it tonight. He said he just got off work. So I don't think he's going to make it home in time. And if he does, I don't know, probably going to be tired, or I don't know, he'll probably have stuff to do, or maybe he'll get here. And he's got the link in Skype. So just in case he's listening, if he gets home and checks his computer, there will be a link in Skype. So maybe we'll see Gandalf later.
Cool.
Allison,
Yes.
I've had a request from two people already who will be interested in joining this conversation, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay, well, I'm going to open it up in a little while after you and I have some discussion, and then I'll invite them in. You know them both, Influence Freedom, and I'm pretty sure you know Blue Blood.
Yeah.
So they both showed an interest. Hey, King Nine, haven't seen you in a little while. So they both showed an interest in tonight's topic.
Great.
I'm actually a little bit surprised. This usually doesn't happen too often. People aren't asking me to get on my panel, but there it is. So, all right,
Okie dokie.
so we got 12 now. Let me pop out this chat and pop out. And then I'll go over to the Hangout page so everybody can see who's talking. I know that the listeners prefer it that way. I think I did something wrong with my OBS. I did it once before, like not last week, but 2 weeks ago, after Josh showed me how to get the promo like inputted into my OBS so that it would run through the OBS as like an opening. But I think I did something wrong this time, and that's why I sort of had to go and do like a screen share on my desktop the way I did it. But as usual, we're less than professional around here. Um,
That's okay. I think I'm on Hangouts video call twice, so don't feel bad.
oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you want to figure that out and you accidentally leave, then you can come back.
No, I'm fine.
Hmm.
I'll just keep it on. I may not be able to see the chat, so hello everybody. I'm not gonna run back and forth with the chat and stuff.
Okay. If you're interested, you can. If you want to go over to my channel, you hit the three little dot button, and there's an option to pop the chat out, and it creates its own little window for you, and you can use it, put it where you want. Otherwise, if you're not used to And I know you're not particularly, you've only done a couple of hangouts, right?
Yeah, I don't really know how to do that.
It can be
Um,
it can be pretty distracting when you're in the middle of a conversation and you're trying to read what's going on in the chat.
yeah,
So without practice, you can really screw up your conversation. You sort of lose track of who said what.
that's
Yep.
all right. I think I'm gonna stick to the naked truth here.
Okay. Well, I do want to go back to the very, very beginning and say hello to Amy.
Hello.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Allison.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Allison,
Yeah,
how long have you been supporting my show? You've been subscribed and watching CONHWC shows for what, about 2 years? Or what?
maybe,
Or maybe,
probably about that. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
um, let me see. Were you watching the show when Ian was co-host?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
He left not too long before I was watching it for a little while, and then he left, and then Bardamon came in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I miss both of them actually.
Yeah, as do we.
Indeed, we do.
So,
And oddly enough, I have not had contact with either one. They both have
wow.
sort of fallen off of the map.
Yep,
Yeah,
right off the radar. I got one brief communication with Bart about, I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah,
And then,
on
poof.
Skype. On Skype,
Yep,
he
on
showed
Skype.
up after about 6 months. He was gone for months and months, and we were like, well, wondering what's going on. And he showed up on Skype and said, "Sorry, got stuff going on in my life." He said, "I just don't want you to think that I forgot about you." And then I replied, and haven't heard from him since. So
wow.
I don't
Yep.
know. Don't know what's
Yep.
going on with him.
Well, you'll probably hear from him eventually
I hope. I
when
hope
his
so.
life lightens up. That happens with people.
Okay, so I'm glad you're here. And since we are talking about Reiki, what I'll do is open the floor up to you. Um, tell us what it is. Tell
Okay.
us how it works. Bring everybody up to speed for anybody who has no idea what this is. So just take us from the beginning.
Well, Reiki is a form of hands-on healing. Um, the the energy is Reiki means life force energy, and you channel energy. I guess you call it channel. It's more like you're like a conduit for this energy, and you can either lay hands on to a person, or you can have your hands above the person in order for the energy to enter the person and do its healing. And you don't try to force it in, you just let it go. Kind of like singing lessons, you don't force your voice to do anything, you just kind of let the voice out. And anyway, so there's like different hand positions that you do with it, like you do on the crown of the head and the eyes and the ears and the back of the head and the neck, so on and so forth, down to the feet. Um, I do not go to the private parts. I hold my hands above the private parts. I'm very specific about that, but some other people do the private parts in touch. I do not. And that's not the way it's taught, but that's how I feel about it. Um, but you don't need to be touched in order to do that. Reiki 1 is mostly self healing, and you work on other people, but you can't do distance Reiki. Distant Reiki is level 2, and level 2, when you do distant Reiki, you send that energy to wherever you want. I mean, I've sent it as far as Cebu in the Philippines, and um, I don't know, over the United States as far as California. Um, and let's see, the master part, which is level 3. in Usui Reiki, which is what I do. That's basically for teaching another person. And so that's what you do. Reiki has principles like the first one is just for today, I will count my blessings. And so there's a list of five that you learn through that, and you learn symbols. And in the Usui that I learned, which is very simple, there's four symbols. There's two symbols for level one, and then you have one is for power. It gives you a little more power. And then the other symbol is for emotional balance and that type of thing. So if you're healing some emotional thing with somebody, you can use that symbol. And the next level, level two, you have another symbol, and that is to help you send distant Reiki. And the third is basically for teaching. So each time, each level, you are attuned, and you spend a specific time working on Reiki before you can become attuned. And usually it's about a month for level one, a month for level two, and about a year for level three. I waited about 6 years to be attuned for level three. Um, and let's see. I guess that's about it for the moment. Uh, you got any questions?
I have lots and lots and lots of questions.
Okay.
As you know, we're having this discussion because of the email conversation that you and I have been having over many weeks.
Yep.
And obviously, you wanted me to know about it because you're the one who brought it up in the first place. You and I have been communicating an email for quite a long time. I used to give my email out on occasion for various purposes, and you're one of the very few people who picked up on it and have been in email contact with me for quite some time. And it's something that you continue to mention. And then obviously you're aware. I'm bringing the audience up to speed. So obviously recently I began challenging you on the Reiki thing in email. We've had quite a healthy, lively, fairly large exchange over the last couple of weeks, and so that's why I thought I'd bring you on. But I do have tons and tons of questions. Um, First of all, you said that it was a hands-on. That was like the first thing out of your mouth. It was a hands-on, right?
Yep.
So then
That's the initial thing.
but then you went to another aspect where you don't have to have hands-on, and then you described a situation where you are sending Reiki energy literally on the other side of the world.
Yeah, you can do that. When you are tuned for Reiki 2 and you become a Reiki practitioner, and that's the level that you are, then yes, you can send the energy wherever you want.
So, okay, so how does that work exactly?
Well,
I
how
mean,
I
I, I just have to press the idea where you started off saying it's a hands-on, and now you're talking about sending energy, with basically no range limit.
well, there is no range limit. That's just the way it works. The first level you cannot send distant Reiki. The second level, you're not attuned to do that. You have to be attuned.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's a special ceremony that occurs.
A ceremony.
Yes, and
And what do
what
you,
happens is your teacher will go through and they will do certain symbols over you and stuff, and you become attuned during this ceremony.
what does it mean to become attuned?
Um, well, that's a good question. It's basically bringing your frequency up, I think, to the level of being able to do what's happening in the particular level that you're at.
I'm not sure I understand really.
Well, it gives you the ability to do the distant healing when you're at level 2. I think it's an energetic attunement. It's rather esoteric, I think, in a sense, but not necessarily, because it's just something that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, there is particular method to do it, the attunements. So,
Okay, so you mentioned that it was a ceremony, and your Reiki teacher or your master that you tutelage under, you go through this ceremony, and they you said what holds symbols over you?
yes. Yeah, so it's a combination of symbols and movements, and they're done in a particular order. And then after that ceremony, quote unquote, is done, you are attuned and you can have the ability to do that.
And does it ever not work?
The attunements,
Yeah.
I've never experienced them not to work. No.
So it works every single time, 100%. When you go through your ceremony, it's like getting a badge, and then now you can send Reiki through the phone lines or over the airwaves or anywhere in the universe, right?
Anywhere you want.
Okay, so you go through this ceremony, your teacher hand waves certain hand positions, symbols, and then pardon me for using a glib term, and I'm not trying to be offensive here, but what, you gain extra powers? I really don't understand this.
It feels like it. It's really weird because I know when I was attuned, like Reiki 1, when I was attuned for Reiki 1, I didn't really feel anything. And I practiced and practiced, so I would know the hand positions and how to heal somebody that was sitting in a chair and that kind of stuff. And but when I got attuned for Reiki 2, it was a whole nother ballpark. It made me extremely sensitive to energy. It opened up some kind of almost a psychic sense. Um, and I know probably sounds a little weird, but I felt what was going on with the energy more. I felt what was going on with my hands. I usually let the energy go through my crown chakra, like on the top of your head. You will feel the energy come out your hands. You will feel healing energy come out your feet. It's a really interesting feeling. It's like a tingling feeling, if that makes any sense.
I'm actually glad that you mentioned that you at least feel something in your feet. I'm glad. I do have a note here. I was going to ask you about the feet because, I did do a little bit of cursory research before tonight's show, and let me see, where was it? Some of the people who talk about this, they mention the heat coming off of your hands. They can feel, so someone's having work done on them. They typically will report that they can feel the heat from your hands. And obviously, I'm coming at this from a completely skeptical position.
Yep.
So my answer to that, if somebody were to say that to me, my go-to answer would automatically be, well, because your hands have a shit ton of nerves. There's only one place in your body, well, except for the lips. There's one other place in the body that has more nerve endings than your hands and your feet, right? These are your genitals. So, because your hands and your feet are known to have so many nerve endings, they also have an ample supply of blood, typically more than the rest of your body. And so it's no surprise that you would feel the heat or warmth from somebody who has their hands on you or even near you.
May I interject?
Of course. You can cut me
Uh,
off anytime. I'll just shut right up. If you just want to
no,
run me, that's
I'll be
fine.
polite about this. Come
Okay.
on.
No, go ahead.
No, it's people say that everybody's hands are hot. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes your hands will be cold. Um, Especially like to the client. The client may feel cold hands. They might feel warm hands. They may feel a number of things. They may even feel like weeping. Um, it's sort of like how it is, but I mean, not everybody's hands are gonna give off heat. Does that
Um,
make sense?
well, certainly there are times when we have a reduced blood flow where we do have cold, clammy hands. It's not guaranteed that everybody's hands are going to be any particular temperature at any given moment. That's true.
But the energy still works whether your hands are cold or hot. Does that make sense? At least that's what I was taught.
Okay. Um, Now this might be a silly question, but especially considering that you did mention feet, um, can you use your feet?
Um,
Have you ever heard of, I'm just curious, have you ever
I
heard of
haven't
such a thing?
heard of that at all. Maybe if there was someone who didn't have hands would use their feet.
Yeah, well, that's
But
kind
I
kind
don't
of what I was
really
thinking.
know. I really don't know how to answer that question. All I know is that the energy travels through your feet, and you can feel it travel through your body, through your feet, and sort of how you know it's working right.
Okay. Um, so I guess one of my biggest questions is how do you know anything is working?
Hmm. Well, you don't necessarily know. You can feel the energy run through you. Um, but if it's working on the client, it's just goes to the client and it does what it's supposed to do. Like you're just a conduit. You don't make anything happen. You're not physically healing somebody. The energy is. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Okay. Well, that's what I was taught.
So, I mean, I know that you've mentioned that in email, and I really just want to try to rehash some of the conversation that we've had in our email so that my audience
Sure.
is a little bit up to speed on where you and I are in our conversation. Now, I know that you've said that you don't do anything, that you're a conduit for this energy. Um, is there any sort of test at all that can be performed to show that there is such an energy that you're talking about?
Well, actually, there is sort of a test. I in my searches, which I've got like a pile of paper here, like printed out and stuff, but I ended up bumping into this James Oshman, who is a physicist. He has a PhD, and he had some things to say about Reiki and energy healing. But if you're doing hands-on healing, like it takes um, about 6.8 hertz um, to heal bones, for instance. As he was saying, I hope I got the numbers right. So it's a measurable amount from your hands that comes out when you're working on somebody, like at a distance from, say, 18 inches or a little closer. That measurable amount, and I cannot remember the specific instrument, what that was called, but your hands give off electricity of about 7 hertz.
Well, if your hands are giving off electricity, that can be measured in a couple of different ways. Um, it can be measured through magnetism, and it can be measured directly if there is, in fact, electricity coming off of your hands. That can be measured through an amp meter or a voltmeter directly.
It's
So,
vibration, yeah, and hertz. Um, so anyway, it was very interesting. I watched almost all of his videos, or all the videos. He didn't have his own videos, but it was videos about him on different channels. In fact, he's on Facebook, and I tried to contact him to see if I could get him on the show. And he saw my message, but I haven't received a reply yet. So I thought it would have been interesting to have a physicist come on. But Anyway, so that's my answer for that.
Um, so the email that you sent me when I was pressing you for like evidence and proof, um, I'm not 100% sure if what I said back to you. I think I may have. Um, when I tried to check the links and the sources on that particular link that you left me,
Mm-hmm.
there was a fairly large list. I may even want to actually do a screen share and go through that some of it
Sure.
with you. But I'm not sure. Did I tell you? Did I reply back that?
Yes, you replied back and you said most of it was hoo hoo. Most of it was like Reiki practitioners and stuff.
Yeah.
But some of it wasn't. And if you looked up the people and their names, like I saw several lists, not just that list, and you would find um, studies. I don't know if I printed out that one study, but there was one study that just had a couple of women's names on it, and turned out that they were both nurses. I think it was at Boston Hospital, and they wrote an article. And that particular article was the one I told you about. I went to a site where it was supposed to be, and it cost like $49 to print it out. So I joined the site, and basically you had to say if you were a practitioner or a doctor or something like this, and you couldn't print anything out unless you paid for it. So I declined to print it out because I really can't afford 49 bucks an article. But I did print out some things, and there was various things in what I printed out in the lists of stuff that I found that sort of went both ways. That some things were pro. There was an answer, and yes, the healing did work. And then there were others that, basically were the opposite.
Um, in one of my replies, did I mention that as I was searching for uh, some of those resources that were in that link that you gave me, as I started examining, going through the list of resources, one of them in particular was not only a Reiki practitioner, but also led me to their personal website where they also sold lawnmower engines and a bunch of
Well, no, he didn't mention that, but that's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm sure there were some that were just Reiki practitioners.
so that email with the link that you gave me was pretty much a website that just had a giant list of other people in the practice who were sharing their website banners. It seemed like that's all
Some
that
of it
was.
was the first, I think it was the first article in that list, and I might be wrong because I looked up several lists, but the first article, I believe it was either that list or another list, was of the two nurses at Boston Hospital who wrote the article that I couldn't access. But I've accessed other articles, and I don't know whether it's from that list or elsewhere. But yeah, that's pretty bad. That shouldn't have been on that list. I mean, there should have been something more medical on that list. So,
I didn't see anything medical, and I searched nearly a dozen of those links that were on that particular web page, the link that you had given me. So it was a bunch of dead ends that took me to anything but the information that I was looking for.
yeah, sorry.
So, other than that, do you have any other information or know where we can go and find some other information that might provide us with some sort of peer review, anything at all?
Well, mostly the best ones. The best thing that I found was the James Oshman stuff. And he was speaking about quantum physics and stuff, which was amazing. I just was so into that. But peer review, I mean, as far as peer review goes, you know, there's a lovely article about science in the human energy field by James Oshman, and he's, I think it was put out by Reiki magazine. So he was interviewed by William Rand, who is a very famous Reiki practitioner teacher and has his own school. And the article is excellent. And there's a lot of articles in that magazine, of course, which are Reiki practitioners and stuff like that. Um, but I think it gives you an idea of Oshman's views. And let me see what this was. Volume 1, Issue 3, Winter of 2002. But at that time, he didn't mention that it could be measured. The hands on healing or partly above the body, could you say, not right on top of the body. As I previously mentioned, I got that information from a later um, video off YouTube. But um, let's see, there's a lot of articles I have here. I don't know whether you want to call it peer review or what, but I mean, a lot of them are from
Well,
people who have PhDs.
I'm talking about actual science papers, published scientific papers, peer-reviewed scientific papers, not articles. I'm interested in the science more than just anecdotal story time. Do you know what I mean?
This is science.
Okay, if it's real science, then somebody, and you're talking about people with PhDs that are talking about this stuff, then somewhere somebody
Yeah,
should have some published scientific
it's
papers.
very difficult to find a lot of it. And the reason being, okay, is part of the problem with peer reviewed stuff like that is, it's not like regular medicine. Traditional medicine gets far more money to do research. And so you're looking at a situation where there's not a lot of funding for this research. I mean, I'm a Reiki practitioner, but I don't know how to do research. I wouldn't know the first thing about it. As far as some scientific experiments, there was one scientific experiment that was done by a person who was into physics, and I'm not sure where that is about. He tested mice, and what they did is they had these mice and they injected them with breast cancer cells. And so they did actually 4 controlled experiments with mice. And he had a practitioner put his hands on the cage and send energy to the mice. Okay, now, and then there was mice that had no healing, no energy sent to them. So the mice that had energy, actually both groups of mice, that they had these sores which came up. I think they were cysts, and they turned black and exploded. And the Reiki mice, those cysts healed up, and they they were healed. And the other group of mice that didn't get the Reiki did not heal, and they all died. And
So you're saying Reiki healed cancer in mice?
yes, yes, according to that experiment. But they did that experiment 4 times, and then they duplicated it again, and it did the same thing. But the thing is, they never took it and tried anything on humans. And how are you going to try that on humans? You don't want to inject people with breast cancer cells.
You don't have to. There's millions of people with breast cancer.
Well, I mean, that's more like a controlled thing. So,
Well, I can see how it might be tough because in order to have a control group in a scientific experiment, you can't be, using other types of drugs or chemo or any other type of traditional medicine. You have to use the Reiki only. And of course,
yeah.
a human being with breast cancer, you open yourself up to a huge lawsuit if it doesn't work, right?
Well,
So,
I wouldn't even consider that. I feel that Reiki should be used in conjunction with traditional medicine.
well, okay, maybe it should be, but that would eliminate the control group and nobody could say what's worked and what didn't work.
Well, that's what they did on the mice.
Okay, I would very much like to see that study. Uh,
Um, I have a mess of papers here.
I'm trying to find, as you're speaking, I'm trying to find the original email. I can't find it unless it was in another batch.
It may not be in that particular one.
Am I screen sharing right now? Can you see what I'm? You can't.
No, I can't see what you're
No,
doing.
no, you're not screen
Yeah,
sharing.
I've got a batch. Yeah, I did that on purpose. I reduced the. I shouldn't be turn it into a black screen as much as possible. I didn't really want to share all this email stuff. Um, but I am trying. I've got a batch here of 13 exchanges. And I'm wondering if it's in that one or if it's in a different batch where you gave me the link.
To all that
Here, no,
stuff.
here it
This
is.
may be.
Here it is. Found a good article. Here it is. I think I found it. Um, yeah, there it is. Let me just open this up in a fresh tab and then I'll share that with the class. Okay, that should that should do. All right. This is what you sent me, I think. Well, yeah, that should be what you sent me. Let me go back over here and open this up. All right. Should be display capture. Yeah, just
Well, the experiment
cancel
was
that.
done by a physicist called Bengston, Bengston. I'm pretty sure it's William Bengston. And I am looking through my stuff. I have two articles by William Bengston.
Um,
Oh,
oh, here it is. Go kart. It's go kart engines. That's what it is.
oh,
And
that's funny.
this
Well,
is this is Ruth A. Golush or Golush. And when I look at, let me see, KJ52, um, 7th Avenue sold direct, eBay, fantastic prices,
well, my apologies for
Amazon,
that. I sent you.
CBD,
I did not look those all up
Project 86,
until afterwards.
sponsored search, great deals, compare prices, another product, sponsored. Okay, what else? Day of Fire, what is this? Sponsored link, sponsored linked. Day of Fire sold direct on eBay. So I think this is the one of, and this isn't the one that you sent me directly. And I don't know why it. This is weird. I don't know why it took me here. Um, I
Maybe you clicked on something that was on the site or something. I'm still trying to look for that particular article. I have
oh wait a
a
minute.
couple of things about William Bengston and
Here it
energy
is.
healing.
Here it is. Sorry. I opened up the link that I sent back to you. That was the person who was selling go-kart engines. So here's the link, and I should be sharing with everybody on the live stream now. Um, Here's the link that you actually sent me. Reiki pages, James Deacon's Reiki pages,
Yeah.
medical research and other papers on Reiki. Well, I couldn't find any medical research, and I did look through, not all, but this is a pretty sizable list.
Can I interject here?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Uh Eman has dropped a link into the
Okay.
chat here for the study with the mice, the Bangston study
Okay.
Thank
with
you.
mice and cancer.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much, E-Man. We appreciate that.
I
Okay.
have two other papers, but unfortunately, I've got an inch and a half thick of articles here. So sorry if I'm having a dither with this.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So the Bankston thing. I mean, there was the first time I read it, it felt like it wasn't successful. But then I read other articles with William Bengston, and it did seem that that did happen. So I think it did happen, but I think there needs to be controlled studies for humans, and there's really not that much available, at least online, um, that I could find. I did find some controlled studies from China uh, with energy healing, different forms of energy healing, and but basically they're saying, it may help. Um, it may help. Anyway, so I was just looking at some videos of Sheldrake. Um,
Rupert Sheldrake.
yes, but unfortunately, I didn't find much on Reiki. Um, the main things that I found was profound to me was the Oshman videos, and there was a lot of talk about quantum physics, scalar waves, subtle energies. A lot of people said they couldn't be measured, but they can be measured, and that's sort of that. Um, but the gist that I get is you've got articles with medical doctors, a lot of medical doctors, that are saying this is a lot of bunk. And then you have other doctors, but most of them are PhDs, that say there's something to this stuff. And Oshman says it works, and he's very pro energy types of healing. Um, so, um, let's see.
This is a little bit interesting here. I'll just read the abstract. Energy healing or healing with intent is a complementary and alternative medicine therapy reported to be beneficial with a wide variety of conditions. We are developing a delivery technology for a method previously tested in mouse models with solid tumors, the Bengston model, independent of the presence of a healer. The goal of the study was to assess whether stored or recorded energy has an impact on breast cancer cells in vitro using energy charged cotton and electromagnetic recording of healers practicing the method. Expression of genes involved in cancer and inflammation pathways was measured by quantitative reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. Um, Treatment of cells using energy charged cotton resulted in statistically significant changes. Oh, I sure would like to know what they mean by energy charged cotton. Uh,
Oh, I can tell you what that means.
Go ahead.
I mean, as a practitioner, what you would do if you're energy charged something, you could take an inanimate object, or you could take your food or your water or, whatever. I mean, I charge crystals, but people are into that. I'm not like, into crystal healing, but some people are. And you put your hands over them and you direct the energy toward whatever it is that you're working with. So that was cotton, right?
Okay, I heard what you said. I just don't know what that means.
It means you are channeling energy or The conduit for the energy that flows through your hands to the cotton. So you're sending the energy to the cotton. That's what it means.
I would like to know what kind of energy are we talking about exactly, and how is that energy measured? Because earlier you said electricity, so that's an energy that we can all know. We all know. We can see it. We
I.e.,
can measure it.
electrons. I think Oshman said it was electrons specifically. Like he's into this grounding thing. Like if you go outside and you're walking on the earth has electrons, so you're picking up electrons. You can be healed by electrons. And I saw a video of another guy um, who was saying that uh, the hertz is much higher to heal tumors or things like that. And I'm trying to think what his name is. I have so much stuff written down I can't find it. But and I just only watched that today, and he had some kind of fancy named machine that he did this with. The machine was very expensive. Um, so I was reading the comments and in the video, and people were suggesting other ways to do that, but Oshman is for the grounding thing, and that's how he's talking about it protecting you from this electric mess that we have going with 5G and all that stuff from your telephones and computers and stuff.
Well, this is a. I got something to say here that might be just barely, slightly off topic, because I know you're not talking about prayer per se, but this article that I'm reading that Iman Pudama dropped, that I have on my screen right now, just below the abstract that I just read, in the introduction paragraph, says virtually all recorded societies report that certain individuals appear to have the ability to heal. Oftentimes, this healing has been associated with the spiritual disciplines of one sort or another, and the excuse me, pardon me, and the healers themselves have sometimes been accorded a special status within the culture. Healers have utilized various methods of practice, including laying on of hands, prayer, and induced altered states of consciousness, to name a few. Now, what I have to say, what I know about prayer, that actual scientific studies have been performed, and I am aware of real scientific control studies have been done to see if there's anything to the notion of the efficacy of prayer. And it fails. And not only does it fail, but it actually seems to have a reverse effect. And they did a study on something like, I think it was 600 heart surgery patients, and they broke them into three groups. One group knew that they were being prayed for. The other group were being prayed for, but they were not aware that they were being prayed for. And the third group, the control, just wasn't being prayed for. And the group that knew that they were being prayed for did worse
Yeah, I
than
heard about that
the
study.
other two. The researchers suspected it might have been due to some sort of performance anxiety, because when you know you're being prayed for, you might have some anxiety as to, well, gee, if I don't get healed, then my friends and family are going to lose their faith. All that sort of anxiety. So that's the only conclusion that they could come up with. But the bottom line is that the group that knew that did not know that they were being prayed for had no more greater success or healing rate than the other group that was not being prayed for, and the group that
Hmm.
knew that they were being prayed for did worse than the other two groups.
Yeah, but Reiki isn't prayer.
Oh, okay. Prove it.
It's not. I don't.
I mean,
I
I mean,
don't have
if
to pray to do Reiki. If I want to pray,
no, I
I
understand.
pray. I
No,
pray
no,
for
no,
myself, maybe, but
no. I'm not saying that it's exactly the same. But if there was anything to this idea of prayer, then wouldn't that literally be the same kind of energy being somehow transferred or induced by the human beings because with their intention, because that's what Reiki is. It's an intention, right? This is all about your intention and your goal and purpose to send some sort of healing energy, right?
Well, yeah, but it's different than prayer, and it's not religious.
How is it different than prayer?
Well, prayer is a verbal thing.
No, not always.
Well, it's verbal in your head or a verbal in your mouth. It could be thought forms, yeah, but Reiki is physically sending energy. That's a little bit different.
Because I mean, when you describe that you can, I don't, what did you call it, third level or level three, where you
Level 3 is a teacher.
okay, so level two that you can send Reiki energy to someone in Bangladesh, right? There's no limit to the
Hmm.
distance. So how is that different than prayer? If somebody is from a far distance away from you and you're sending them energy, how is that different than somebody else with the same sort of intention to send love and healing power, invoking God or the almighty power of the universe, whatever that may be in their own minds, they still
Can
have the same intention to send healing energy, right?
can I interrupt here?
Sure.
I would like to sort of address that. Okay, when you are praying, you're asking some entity or another to intercede. Whereas with Reiki, you are plugging into a flow of energy and moving it through you with intent. These are really two different things.
Thank you. Yes. I didn't put it in words right, but
That's all right.
the thing that's really interesting, um, Aaron, is when I send energy distant, people feel it. They tell me they feel it. And that really blows me away because I never thought anybody would be able to feel healing energy from far away. Um, but I've worked on a bunch of different people and with a bunch of different issues, and everyone pretty much says they can feel the energy, you know. But it's not like I don't believe I have any power that's different than anybody else. A lot of people like say they have these magical powers or something. It's not magic. It's sort of like Amy says, tapping into universal energy and directing it uh, toward whomever you're going to heal or send healing to. I make a mistake saying my healing somebody. It's really that you're just sending the energy. The energy's doing the healing. And, there's different types of Reiki. I just do the plain Usui, but there's a whole bunch of different types of Reiki that have grown out of Usui. And some of them manipulate the skin. And, you know, uh, when you're doing this hands-on stuff, and Usui does not manipulate the skin. So a lot of times people will say that you cannot be harmed by Reiki. If you're manipulating the skin, you could harm somebody. The method that I practice, you don't manipulate the skin, and you can also do it hands off, so that you're not hurting anybody.
I,
Because
can I'd
Go ahead,
like to
Amy.
interject a thought. Okay, now, Aaron, we know that in the
You can call
plasma,
me Rufus.
Rufus, sorry, force of habit.
No, I know, but we all came to the
Yeah,
conclusion that we're gonna stop
yeah,
doing that.
I'm going to try to remember.
okay,
Okay.
Anyway, what I would like to point out, okay, we are aware of the plasma universe theories, correct?
Yeah.
And this is a field of electromagnetic energy that's uh, coalescing and spreading out throughout the whole universe. And I strongly suspect that what Reiki is tapping into that field, focusing that energy and allowing it to flow in the direction that one wants it to.
Hmm.
That is my guess.
Well, I certainly don't deny that we are alive and living in a virtual sea or a soup of all kinds of different energies, and that we ourselves are electrical, energetic beings of sorts. What I'm wondering is how we can test that this method is effective. And one of the things that I asked Allison in email um, was I was trying to postulate a way that we could test or try to create some sort of control for testing. And I think I suggested something like sending a healing energy to someone that doesn't know that they're getting it, because in my email exchange I talked a lot about how the placebo is actually a real thing, and it's actually used in medicine because
Yes.
it's up to 30% effective. And so, I mean, if it works with zero harm, then why not do it, right? So placebo is in fact employed in medicine, and it's a real thing. It doesn't necessarily, it's not going to heal bones or regrow limbs, but it'll certainly make you feel better. And if it feels good, do it, I say.
Right.
And I kind of feel the same way with Reiki. Whether it's real or whether it's imagined, if it makes you feel good, fucking do it. I don't care. What I want to know is what kind of energy? How do you know that you're manipulating energy? How can we test that you are, in fact, doing anything effective for someone else at a distance? And one of the things that I mentioned in our email was to send energy to someone who doesn't know. And if I remember correctly, Allison replied that the recipient has to give you permission to do it. Is
Yes.
that
Yeah.
correct?
One needs consent.
Okay. All right. Stop right there, because two things come to mind when it comes to consent. Actually, three. Number one, when somebody has to give you consent, that means that they're aware that you're doing it. And if they're aware that you're doing it, that you have not ruled out placebo, so you've just destroyed your control group. Number two, as I did a little bit of cursory research before tonight's show, I heard from one or two Reiki masters say that you, and Allison said, they were doing it on mice. Somebody said you can do it to your pets, and
Yep.
somebody said you can do it to babies. Well, you can't exactly get consent from your pet or a baby.
Yes, you can. I I had consent. Obviously, I had. I
How do,
used to go. Let me tell you,
well, no, tell me how do you get consent from a baby?
they'll be attracted to you and want that, just
What
like an
about a baby
animal
in
will.
Bangladesh?
Well, the only other way you can do that is go to the higher self, which you probably don't get. It's going to sound like woo woo, and you ask the higher self for permission, and or you can say to the universal energy, or wherever it comes from. Uh, you say, I'd like to send this energy to so and so, and if it's not accepted, please send it to where it will do the highest good. And I do that sometimes, especially if that I feel is called for. But for the most part, I'll ask permission. Most part, people seek me out, but dogs have sought me out. And I had one dog who had a hip problem that was some friends of mine dog, and whenever I went over there, it would back up into me wanting me to put my hands on its hips. And so, yeah, that's how I know I had permission from a dog. Now, I went to another person's house who was a friend of a friend who had another old dog who had some issues with moving, hip issues, leg issues, and that dog did the same thing. So, yeah, I think dogs, cats instinctively know. I mean, I had my cat would be hanging all over me when I was doing Reiki. And They instinctively know and they come seek you out.
So
I mean, it's not scientific proof, but that's the
no,
way it
it
is with me.
well, no, it's not. It's anecdotal proof, and although I appreciate your time and your stories and your explanations, it's not. I don't accept anecdotes as proof. They're interesting and they're worthy of consideration, but I don't consider them evidence or proof. And two anecdotes, and I've said this before regarding other types of. I might have said it to you in the email that an anecdote is not evidence, and multiple anecdotes don't add up to evidence either.
Well, that's fine, but that's what I'm telling you.
I'm 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 going to say, as far as anecdotes go, they will allow me to adjust my probabilities marginally, and the greater the number, the closer I will get to a high probability if they're all consistent. But yeah, you're right. It's not like scientific proof,
No, no, it's
but
not.
but
It's what has occurred within what I've done with practicing.
All it does, if you had a pile of stories and anecdotes, all it would really do, in my mind, as a skeptic, would it would at least lend credence that it's something to look at. It's at least enough to say, hey, pay attention to this, look at it. If you're interested, it's at least worthy of your time to investigate. That's all
I
it is.
I haven't seen any studies on animals at all. Um, the studies that I did see, basically, that Reiki is good for pain management. It can lower your blood pressure. I've worked on myself and lowered my blood pressure. Anecdote again. And
Meditation does that all the time.
yeah, and
And really,
it's very similar. It's very similar. I mean, you get in the zone. It's like sort of meditation, and because I've done both, and let's see what I was gonna say. It. I'm sorry, lost my train of thought.
that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's slightly better than placebo effect, I think. Um, it helps reduce the heart rate. Um, let's see. Anybody it helps to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, things like this. But what I've seen in the research that I've done through the articles that I've looked through, you get positive on those things, and then some people say that that doesn't happen, and some people say that may happen. So you're getting all different answers, even though some of the tests are somewhat controlled, and some of the controls studies that I've seen too, I have questions about them as to whether they're really scientifically together or not, whether they're following the proper scientific process. Um, so that's sort of where I'm at on it. Um, now, I mean,
Says I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
that's all right. I mean, they're using it in operating rooms now. Now there's some kind of uh, medical Reiki, certified medical Reiki master that where people are going into surgery. Uh, that's a new field that's coming out. But oftentimes, Reiki's done in hospitals, and there's like a really lot of hospitals. I think there's like 800 hospitals that use Reiki in the hospital. The nurses, a lot of the nurses, you know how like they have to take those courses to like recertify or get their
Yeah.
certify up to date. They're taking Reiki courses. So they are applying Reiki to their patients, and also they have volunteers. And oftentimes at hospice, they have volunteers. As far as placebo effect, I'm down with that too. If it's just placebo effect, that's fine. I just think the really odd thing is, I mean, to me, it's odd, is that somebody far away would feel that.
I don't think it's odd at all, especially if you're telling me that the person far away. Um, this is see, I'm really hung up on this. You have to have permission thing
I know.
because first of all, in this experiment, and by the way, as a quick side note, as I'm reading this article here, it does say here that in the mid to late 1970s, Bankston began looking to follow Grad's experimental approach and healing and moved into systemic experimental work with animals. So this study with the rats is 50 years old. So I would
Yeah.
certainly like to see something a little bit more recent. And if there was any real success, measurable success, if this was a real experiment and not somebody trying to pull the wool over somebody else's eyes, maybe to sell a book or whatever, there's all kinds of reasons for people with PhDs to falsify their tests and their experiments and their results. This happens all the time in science. It's a sad fact. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I agree with you
so
there.
the
And
other thing is, when it comes to this particular experiment with the mice, and you're saying that um, you have to have permission. How does one get permission from a mouse, particularly a mouse that you intentionally injected with cancer cells?
honestly, I don't know. And whether it was specifically Reiki used, I'm not sure. They said it was, but then I read in other spot in other places that it was a method of healing that was taught to the person who did the healing. So that's even a little contradictory.
Okay, so my other question regarding having to have permission, when um, you said something about that you would send. God, I think what was we were talking about babies or something, and you said that you would ask you'd ask the universal energy or something if you could get permission, and if you couldn't get permission, that you said that to just send it to where it was needed most. So, could you tell me
I
that again?
asked the universe to send the energy where it's needed most. Yeah.
Okay, so wouldn't
And
that
normally
const
most people don't do that, but I do that.
okay, so wouldn't that constitute a situation where you're sending energy to someone where you didn't have permission?
Yeah, it
That
would.
sort of screws up your permission theory thing. I mean, how
It's
does
not
that
really
work?
a theory. You're supposed to ask the person's permission. But yeah, I mean, it's odd. And yes, I agree with you. It messes that up.
I could say that perhaps it doesn't because there may be people that are asking for help from whatever source. And if they're asking for help from whatever source, and that's where it would do the most good because it's been
Then
asked
that
for.
might constitute permission through
Yes,
universal
exactly.
laws of some kind.
Yep.
Okay,
Maybe. I mean,
okay.
that's
Damn you, Amy.
I'm sorry.
You blew my
I
whole debunk.
that's okay. Well, it is a weird subject, and most
I'll
people
be
really
back in
haven't
10
heard
seconds.
about it.
I'll be back in a few seconds.
Okay. Yeah, Amy, that's a great way to put it.
well, I do know that lots of people who are hurting or otherwise in a bind will just ask the universe, please help me.
Yep,
So,
yep,
technically that's permission, I would think.
yeah, it is. But I agree with you. But I mean, as far as Rufus is concerned, with the methodology of just point on asking for permission, yeah, I mean, it is a little weird. You got to admit it's a little weird. It's not like technically normal.
True, but then again, unless it's an emergency, the doctor has to get permission, right?
Yeah,
If you're
Not if you're unconscious and he's got to save your life.
that's what I said, unless it's an emergency, that's
yeah, but you
part of
got to
that.
sign the papers.
Well, if you're unconscious, you ain't signing no papers.
Yeah.
That's right. But I mean, if you're conscious, you are.
Yeah, but if you're not conscious and they determine you need help,
They'll help you.
they will go ahead and do it without
Yep.
your permission, without your signature. So,
Lanny. Satan says if it feels good, do it too, also, or do it
Well,
too.
I mean, people use guides, and oftentimes, now this is really weird. Like some people were using like Lucifer and Satan as a guide. So, like, there used to be like Catholic nuns would do Reiki, and so anyway, the Catholic Church forbid Catholics to do Reiki because it was too far out, and people were using uh, guides that they didn't consider were good. So um, there's something to that. So basically, Reiki is verboten for a Catholic. I'm not Catholic, but
I have no doubt that fundamentalist Christians have a real problem with it. In fact, I was reading some of the comments under some of the videos that I was looking at before today, before we went on live here. As I was doing a little bit of research, I was watching some proclaimed Reiki masters explain it, and watched a couple of people go through their methods and do it to other people. And some of it was pretty laughable. And even though these people were as serious as a heart attack as they explained it and they went through the whole process, they were as serious as can be. It's just that maybe they just weren't very good. I don't know. One person in particular, and thank you, Eamon Pradama. I've got that new article, this research paper. I've got it up for anybody who wants to read this, and I'll go over that in a minute. Um, and by the way, Influence Freedom and Blue Blood, if you guys are still hanging out, I'm going to be opening this up in a few minutes. You guys can come and join us anytime. You guys, if you guys want to pop in literally any moment now, just feel free to come on in. You guys both have the links in your Hangout pages and our private chat conversations. So, this one woman, there's a video that I was watching as she explained the process, and she had a client, this young lady who came in, and the woman said, "Well, first, what I'll do is I'll ask, why are you here? Blah blah blah." And the woman said, "Well, I'm here to, I've got some stress and I want to relax." She said, "I've also been having some stiffness and soreness in my right calf." And so the woman given the video explanation, the quote unquote Reiki master, she's doing her explanation. She has her client lie down, and she says, "The first thing I do is she, I forget the word she used. She said, uh, God, what did she say? Sensing. So she said, I use my non-dominant hand, and I first I go over the body at a distance, usually 6 inches or so, and I sense if there's any other areas that need like extra attention. Okay, so she goes through this process and she quiets and she's quiet for a moment. You just sort of watching her do her thing, and she's waving her hand over, and she stops and she pauses and she moves and she pauses and she moves, and she goes, okay, then I go through the chakras, and then I go down the legs. And I found this pretty hilarious, and I'm really not trying to shit on you, but this was pretty bad. um,
it's called scanning.
scanning, sensing, okay, fine. So she scanned this person, and then she began her practice, where she started at the top, and she said, I usually go right for go to the third eye chakra." She mentioned chakras and working with the chakras.
Hmm.
The first thing I noticed was that she skipped the crown chakra. She went right for the third eye chakra. She skipped the crown chakra. Um, and then after, let me see, what was it? And as she explained, she had to ask her client again which calf it was. So not only did she not remember what her client told her as far as being the right calf, but her quote unquote sensing or her quote unquote scanning didn't detect anything that would have gave her a clue as to which calf it was. I thought that was pretty funny as well.
Well, that's a little weird. First position for the hand placement is over the eyes, not the third eye, but it's the eyes. Um, and that's how I was taught. So I don't know what kind of Reiki this person was doing. And yes, you do a body scan, and what you're looking for. And usually, when you're sensing an issue with pain or something, the body throws off heat when it's in pain. So, other people who are, say, perhaps, um, and, this is not necessarily me, but other people who claim or are more psychically sensitive, they will see things. I only experienced that once on somebody's body, and that was a bizarre, very unusual situation. But but mostly what you'll feel heat. And if she was worth her salt and this woman was actually having pain, she would have felt heat radiate from that leg. So
Well,
you're
if
looking for inflammation, basically.
sure, if you have a genuine physical injury, then the body naturally opens up blood vessels in order to heal itself, and the increased blood flow will show. Literally, you can test this with an infrared camera. You can see
Sure.
that there's a hotter area on the body. It's not like a magical energy. It's simply increased blood flow.
Yeah,
So a person who
but you're
is
not
sensitive.
giving energy at that
No,
point.
no, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if you were quote unquote scanning, if a person who had really sensitive hands could, even without touching, could literally detect a little hotter area. Some people, I have no doubt, could easily detect that.
Yep. Yep. So that's what that's supposed to be. So yeah, that was kind of weird. That particular person. But you got to realize that a lot of people that are doing Reiki are not doing Usui Reiki either. And the other issue is, my teacher said to me that if you mess up on the hand positions, because there's certain hand positions for certain parts of the body, and if you mess up on the hand positions, it doesn't mean that the healing doesn't. You just continue with the healing. It doesn't mean that the healing isn't working, or that because you didn't do it in a particular order, it's not
Well,
going to work.
what does it mean then?
It means you forgot to do that section of the body. But Reiki flows, the energy flows through the entire body no matter where you're at. Does that make sense?
Well, what doesn't make sense is hand positions, and if and your teacher said if you screw up your hand position, then basically it doesn't matter. So what's the point of hand positions if it doesn't matter?
It's just the way that it's taught.
Mm.
But if you had forgotten one, you might go back and do that. Or like if you got to somebody's arm, say, and they're having pain there and you sensed heat there, then you might do that point on their arm and uh, not necessarily not do one of the hand positions, but you might go out of order. Um, and that wouldn't affect the healing. Um, so,
Okay, so I've got two questions. I want to digress. I want to go back all the way back to the beginning just briefly when we were
yeah.
talking about attunement, and you mentioned that it was a ritual and that there were symbols involved. What kind of symbols are we talking about?
Um, there are four symbols. Basically, for Reiki 1, there is the power symbol. There
What
is,
is that symbol?
well, you can easily look it up. I'm not
Okay, all
supposed to
right.
share the symbols, but they're all over the internet.
Oh, okay. So it's
It
like a
basically
trade
looks
secret.
like it's supposed to be, but that's another story unto itself.
Oh, I can't wait to
It's
hear that
basically
story.
it's a spiral symbol, and the next symbol sort of looks like a little dinosaur, and that's um, emotional healing. I kind of think it looks like Godzilla. And then there's the next one, which is the that's for emotional healing. And then the next one for Reiki 2, that sort of looks like a pagoda, and so does the master symbol, but they're drawn a different way. And so what will happen is in these attunements, you'll do a certain number of the first symbol, say it's called Chokure, and you'll do that 3 times, and then you'll have to circle around the body and send energy a certain place. And, so you do these symbols in different patterns. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So the person receiving the attunement sits on a chair, and then you go about the person with the and do your symbols in a certain arrangement uh, in order to attune them. Does that make sense?
Again, I hear your words, but no, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense. The only thing I can imagine having any effect at all would be completely and utterly subjective. And it seems to me that it's really no different than have someone having a religious experience. I mean,
Um,
people in church report all the same things that you've described, all the tingling, the lightness, the some people literally get dizzy and pass out. Some people get emotional and tear up. Um, People have extreme physiological, emotional, physical changes to their body, their state of mind
I have
during the religious experience.
I have never seen any Reiki situation where it looked like one of these evangelical meetings where people fall down, and I think a lot of those are just fake.
I
Um,
can add to that.
many of them are fake, and I have no doubt that maybe all of them are fake in a religious context. And hello, Blue Blood.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Blue.
Hi,
Hey,
Allison.
Blue.
Hi, Amy.
So, real quick, let me ask you one more question, Allison, and then I
Sure.
wanna I wanna turn it over to Blue for a minute. Um, I think you had mentioned something, and I did have a note I wanted to ask you about harm. You said you can't harm someone with Reiki. Is that what you said?
Yeah, you really can't. And it's not every type of Reiki, as I specified before. Some forms of Reiki manipulate the body as if it's massage. In Usui Reiki, you don't do that. You lay your hands on gently, or you're above the body, or you're at distance. So you don't manipulate the body at all. So therefore, you cannot do any harm.
Um, okay. Well, it would seem logical to me, and maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I don't know shit about Reiki, but it would seem that if you can manipulate energy in a positive way, that you ought to be able to manipulate it in a negative way. And I can already see my conspiracy chat people talking about um, like the sort of witchcraft and sigil magic type things that are going on in the world with the elites, the way they run things. So maybe there is something to that. I don't know, but
Well,
you can respond to that, and then I'll talk to Blue for a minute.
honestly, in my opinion, the people that I've been around don't do that. Maybe there are people that do that type of thing who practice Reiki too, but no, I mean, as far as I go, I would never consider using negative energy on anybody. I would think that would be the complete opposite of people trying to help people get better.
I'm only asking what's possible. I'm not suggesting that you would even consider it. No, I understand that
Well,
you
I
wouldn't
think it's
consider it.
possible that if someone's practicing negative stuff and they mean harm to people, that they can in different ways, maybe not necessarily Reiki, but that might be something they would do if they were into that kind of thing. Um, Obviously, people do attempt to send negative vibes, and with sigil magic or servitors or whatever the hell they do. I don't really know, but they do send negative energy to people. Obviously, I mean, even if you are angry at somebody, you're sending negative energy at people. Is that you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I think it's possible, but I haven't seen anybody do it, and I wouldn't really like that. So,
Blue Blood, how you been, bro?
Oh, all right up till today, I suppose.
Yeah, you wanted to come in here. Something happened to your daughter?
Yes, she's still due to deliver her baby here in the next week or several days, and it was dead this morning. So she's at the hospital right now delivering a
oh
dead
no.
baby. So
Oh,
Oh, I'm
it may not.
I'm so
sorry.
sorry.
That's
wow.
not why I wanted to come in, because of that what happened today. I seen the title, and it was actually something when I called my mom and told her, it was something she said that I had to shut her down with, and what she said was the reason why I wanted to come on tonight, and we'll get into that later, I suppose. But yeah, as far as what you guys all been talking about, man, I got my own instances that I can relate to what you guys are talking about.
Go ahead, man. Tell me a good story.
Well, I'll start with the one that's currently going on with my hand. I stubbed my finger the other day, and I think I jammed something in under the cuticle in the corner of my nail on my fingering hand of the guitar, my third finger. Anyway, so of course never thought much of it. Get up the next morning, it's swollen right up. Well, now at the end of the week here, it's really swollen up. So while I was at the hospital, the nurse says to me, she says, ooh, your finger, that needs to be lanced. I said, I know. As soon as I get home, I'm going to lance it. So she says, well, I'll do it for you. And I said, okay. So they got my daughter all hooked up to the IV and everything, getting ready to do the forced labor thing with the drugs. And and the nurse's station is actually right in front of her door. And I said, okay, do you want to lance this now? And she says, well, I'll just give you the thing so you can do it yourself. So I did it right in the bathroom while my daughter was in there.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I said, yeah, because I told her, I said, you know what? I've lanced, I had a cyst on my side under my armpit years ago. I lanced it with a freaking X-Acto knife and squeezed the paste out of that. I said, I've lanced smashed fingers that swolled up like that before. Just grab a knife and give it a little
Yep.
hack and so you can get the pus out. Anyway, so that was kind of funny that you guys got talking about that hot redness, because right
Yeah.
now my finger is hot, red, and throbbing. But a better story than that, on the same hand, you know what it's like, Aaron, as a carpenter.
Uh-huh.
I've smashed every finger on that hand on my left hand. I've
Uh-huh.
cut myself I don't know how many times.
Yep.
I've screwed my finger to a wall.
Uh-huh.
Here's the best one.
I've drilled my finger with my with a Phillip tip on my drill gun
Oh
Yep.
when
no.
it slips off of the drill head and it rams into your finger, and while it's spinning, drilled right into my finger with the Phillips tip on my drill gun. Yep.
But check this
That hurts
story
like
out. Now,
hell.
have you guys ever heard I don't know, they say that only 1 in a million people can have a digit cut off and it will grow back. Have you heard
Um,
that before?
I
I
have.
I only heard this a few years ago, by the way, this
I
saying that, yeah,
I never
whether
heard
it's,
of that.
well, anyway, I heard it somewhere and somebody said, or I read an article, I can't remember exactly what it was, that there is many cases, but it's very rare that people can actually have a digit grow back after it's cut off. Well, guess what? That happened to me when I was about 20 years old. We built a cottage beside my mom's house, 2 doors down, and we were just getting ready to shingle the roof, and it got really windy, and I had rolled out a roll of tar paper, and I put my hand up on the roof on the tar paper to hold it while I cut it, and I just put a brand new blade in my knife, and if I didn't cut my fucking thumb off,
Oh wow.
right below the big knuckle.
Wow.
So above that crease that's between your knuckle and your cuticle, right
Yeah.
there. Cut it clean off. Never even felt it till
Ow.
I stood
Wow.
up. Till I stood up and I saw the blood shoot about 5 feet down the roof, and I'm like, oh shit! And so I pushed it on my belt. Told the guys, I said, I got to go. I just cut my thumb off. Ran over to my mom's. Man, I just about passed out at her kitchen sink trying to run it under the water. So my brother went back up on the roof and got my thumb, and we duct taped it back on, and I went back to work.
And it grew
And
back. But
well,
you
about
didn't.
two. Eh?
Go ahead. No, finish.
Yeah, it took months for it to come back, and I was I thought, well, I'm stuck with a stubby thumb now. But 2 or 3 days later, it was getting all squishy and pulled it off, and the thumb was in there, and it was like the end of it. It was dead. It stunk. It was gross. Threw it in the garbage, and I was bound. Okay, well, I got a stubby thumb. Big deal, right? I'll live with it. But I kept thinking to myself, when I was a young kid, I thought I'm my own master. Like I can heal myself and all this stuff. But anyway, later on in life, this happens, and I thought to myself, for those next few months, you're gonna grow back, and it fucking grew back. It
No
was very
way.
painful, and I banged, and it was scabbed over. It was ugly, and I kept hitting it, knocking scabs off. You know what it's like when you injure
Uh-huh.
yourself.
I
Done it
yeah.
1,000 times.
I cut the tip of my
But
thumb off on a table saw, and yep, I know.
you could see too clearly where it had cut the tip of the bone off in my thumb. And
Oh,
but anyway, over the next probably 3 to 6 months, if it didn't keep growing back, I kept knocking scab off, and it was growing and growing. And the funny thing is they tell you if you cut off your cuticle, your thumbnail, that won't grow back, right? I known guys that have
Uh-huh.
gouged it off or smashed it with a hammer and knocked their whole thumbnail off, and it never did come back.
Uh-huh.
But mine fricking grew back, all of it. And the funny thing is it changed my thumbprint. My
you're
thumbprint now has a circle where the last bunch of scabs were forming over the last few months, right? Really
wow.
weird. So
Wow.
So
that's
your
kind of
nail
my
grew back too.
You got a
Wow.
fingernail and
yeah,
everything?
everything. Yeah, it's all
Wow.
back. Yeah,
Dude, really? Come on,
honest to
really?
goodness. Yeah, I can show you the scar. Oh yeah, and you can ask my mother, and you can ask my brother, and you can ask my stepfather, and who else was on the roof with us that day. Oh yeah, it happened for real, and it was very fucking painful. Let me tell you. But the
Wow.
fact that it grew back, and for many years I didn't put much thought into it until here in the last bunch of years I've been getting into this. You know, us as truthers, so to speak, we fucking look at everything, we think through everything, and I've been thinking about stuff like that a lot. Like I think I really do have the power to heal myself. I've always wanted one power, and that's that I could heal other people with just the sound of my voice or just
Oh,
touch them. They don't even know,
oh,
you know.
I'm
But
gonna
here,
start calling you Deadpool from now on.
but here's another sidebar to that. My wife, fervent Christian, you cannot even question her faith. Forget it. Her brother is a pastor. Now I've already called her out and him out and everybody else, all these faith healers, because they've all been busted for just it's it's a scam. It's whatever it is. But anyway, so my wife has had Crohn's disease most of her life. And I said, well, if your brother's a faith healer and can heal, why the fuck hasn't he healed you then? Right? When your stepfather was dying in a bed in Mexico and he was at his side, how come he didn't heal him? Everybody prayed and prayed and prayed, and Marty's the faith healer. Then why didn't they save your stepfather, Roger? Right? Why didn't they save your cousin who got skin cancer at 21 years old and was dead in 2 months?
Well, if you want to know how bad prayer fails, just go down to the children's hospital.
Yeah, exactly. You want to see the size of the children's hospital here? I know because I helped build it. It's
And
fucking
trust me,
insanely
every
massive.
single one of those parents is praying for their kids who are ultimately going to die. Most of them.
Yeah, so I'm really looking at this energy healing because I look at the universe like this. If Earth has this frequency of 7.83 or whatever it is, what have we added to this realm we live in here? What have we added? We've added all these man-made frequencies in our lifetimes, especially, right?
Yeah.
And now they're getting to the point where they're turning into weapons. So I do think there is something to frequency, energy,
Yeah.
whether it be healing or it causes damage. Because if they're saying all this 5G shit's going to cause fucking brain tumors and all this, and the funny thing is, I went back to driving truck locally here just lately to be home for my daughter, and what am I seeing? Every woman that pulls up beside me in the truck, they've either got their cell phone in hand, and what do they do with it when they're done? They stick it in their crotch.
Mm-hmm.
So
What
so
that
I see a lot. I see a lot of pussy cancer coming up here in the near future if this shit's hurting us.
A lot of
That's why I don't have a phone. I don't want that.
You hear that, ladies? Don't be putting your cell phone in your crotch when you're driving. Your vagina is going to fall off.
Yeah,
But have
don't
you
put
guys?
it in your bra. Actually, there's been people get cancer from having the radiation from the phone when they put their phone in their bra.
Rufus, you live in a pretty big city. I wondered if you've noticed this trend here. We have one of the best cancer centers in Canada right now.
Yeah.
What are we doing with that place? They're tripling the size of it. Why do we have to triple the size? Is there that much cancer coming down the pipeline here in the future that we have to triple the size of these cancer centers now?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
of course, what is the biggest fundraiser on this earth right now? Cancer.
cancer.
Cancer for this, run
Yep.
for this, run for that, run for this. It's all a big money suck, if you ask me. They're not curing anybody. Yeah, they might be able to poison you into remission, but I don't see anybody being healed of cancer from
Not
these
that
cancer
way.
centers.
No,
No, not with
very
that.
few.
No, they're maintaining these people with a plethora of expensive drugs and treatments.
Yeah, and they make them terribly sick too.
Yeah. So onto this faith healing and energy healing. I've been diving into this energy healing a lot lately because, like I said, if I could have one power in the world, it would be to fucking heal people. Because I'd walk into that cancer center and heal everybody. Get out. You're good. You know. But no, where are all these healers going into these centers here? Between the children's hospital here, the cancer center, and the three big hospitals, and we just built another brand new hospital, and that's humongous. I know because I was just in it last year with a wife, and they gutted her. And I'm telling you, like, these are death centers. They're not healing centers. Yes, they can help you and do certain things. And I do really appreciate doctors and nurses because they're good. There's some really good people. But I mean, really, if we
Yeah,
have the power to heal people,
administrators.
where is all the healing that we're supposed to be be able to do?
I think what's going on is the funding for everything pretty much is going to traditional medicine,
Of course it is.
and they're not looking to cure people. I don't care because
No.
there's a lot of ways that some cancers can be cured that are being totally ignored, and they're natural methods, and so they have to keep making their money on these drugs and radiation and whatever the hell they do. And I mean, yes, I believe that a lot of people are really being poisoned to death. There's no doubt about it. But some people are helped by it. Some people actually come out of it.
Have
But
you ever heard of SEAC?
no, I haven't.
The SEAC treatment. It was a woman here in Canada, in Northern Ontario. Her last name spelled backwards, but she come up with a concoction. It's like burlap root, and it was more native traditional stuff. And it's 4 ingredients that you can go find in the bush, and you make a tea out of it, and
Yep.
it's a concentrate. And she was healing people with this. Well, of course, she got shut down. Well, guess
Yep.
what? Her easy little treatment spread. Everybody figured it out and started making it. Well, my best friend's dad got this baseball, and I mean, it was huge. This tumor on his side above his hip, it was just massive. And he said, and his wife, they're both dead now, but she was a nurse her whole life, and she pushed him. You get in there, get the treatments and everything. And he said, not a chance. I am not going into there because it'll kill me if it doesn't kill me, right?
Good
So
for
he
him.
got onto the SEAC treatment, and no word of a lie, in 2 months after you take a shot of this every morning. Some people just mix it in their tea or just hot water or whatever. He started taking this every morning. In 2 months, that baseball on his side was gone.
Yep, I believe
And
it.
he lived for 2 more years after that. And it wasn't that took him out in the end.
I've heard of the SEAC tea.
Yeah. Yeah. Research her and the story behind it, and how the government and cocksuckers got behind it and shut her ass down. But the information had already spread, and she proved it. She proved that it was healing people, and people testified, and there was lots of documentation as to all the healing. That's just one thing. There's been
Sure.
many other people shut down trying to heal people.
Exactly.
But you can't if this energy thing is real and it works, and I'm looking into it a lot. You can't shut somebody down unless you kill their ass. Like if I wanted to heal you over the phone and I have the power to, like your Reiki stuff, what could they do about it? Right? That's the way I look at
Not
that.
much.
You know, the word this place is full of energies, good and bad. The way I
Well,
look at it.
yes.
You
Well,
know, like Amy, when you were having trouble there, Amy, what did I say? I'm sending you my good vibe, my good love, my good energies,
mm-hmm.
hoping it helped you out. Now I don't know how it would have helped you out, but I couldn't help you financially, but I could definitely send you my vibes, energy, whatever. If there's anything
Well,
to it, you
I
know, we
don't,
try, right?
yeah, I don't know whether it was your energy that was it or what, but I certainly feel better now.
Well, I thought about you constantly there for a few days, knowing
Aw,
that you were in a predicament. I didn't know the extent of it, and it didn't matter. I was sending you my good vibes,
and I
whatever that is, right?
appreciate that so much.
Right. You know, how hard was it for me to do that? Not very hard at all, right? I
Yeah,
just concentrated on it and sent you good energy. If you know, and not knowing anything about this stuff myself, we can't prove a lot of this stuff if it's working or not, can we? Yeah, I know Aaron wants a test for everything, but some things maybe they can't be tested.
Well,
I don't know.
they're saying that a lot of
I
the
just, I just
research.
want, I just want to believe things for good reasons. That's all.
Well,
When I
I'm
when
not
I
into belief.
accept, when I accept or believe something, I just want it to be for good reasons.
Yeah, no, obviously, yes, I get that. You know,
yeah,
I'm not into believing stuff just because it's out there. I'm into, does it make sense? Is it logical? Can it work? And is it working? It's not about me. I don't, faith healing. I can't buy into that. I've seen too much
yeah.
fakery involved with it, right? And like I said, I
I
got a
agree.
pastor in the family that claims he can faith heal people.
Hey,
I'm like, really? But you can't heal your sister.
you just made me think of something that I did want to ask Allison. I wanted to ask her earlier, and it slipped my mind. Regarding Reiki and the energy healing aspect of Reiki. Does it ever not work?
Sure.
So, what can we chalk that up as? I mean, whether it works or not, is it dare I say a subjective thing?
Maybe the
Possibly.
recipient wasn't open to it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I
that's
mean,
one thing I learned. If the recipient isn't open to it, it's most likely it's not going to work. But it's hard for me to say one way or the other. I mean, it could work, it might not work, it might totally take care of a problem that wasn't even discussed. So that's where that goes. I just do my best. Sometimes, I work, several nights in a row, like Blue was saying that he did with Amaratsu. Um, that's about all I can tell you. It doesn't always work, or might work several days later after a treatment, if that makes sense.
Do you believe, or do you think? I hate to use the word believe because I'm just
Hey,
so sick of that
hang on,
word.
hang
I
on.
like to use the word think.
Sorry to interrupt, but I see I'm looking through the chat. Influence, if you're, I don't know if you left and came back, but you're free to come in if you want to, sweetie. The link is in your Hangouts. I know you know where it is, so come in anytime if you want to, if you're listening. Go ahead, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyway, where was I going with that? Do you believe that we do put off positive and negative energies? I certainly do, for the fact that I've seen what happens with my own body,
Yes, I do.
electrically speaking. Like, I mean, I can actually, there's been times where I can see a spark. It looks like the same spark that's coming off a spark plug off my fingers, right? So I always feel myself personally in a positive way that I am positively charged. Like, if I touch something negative and I've got too much positive energy flowing through me, you're going to see sparks.
Well, that's nothing special. I mean, the static electricity, we've all had our
No, I
experience.
understand that, Aaron. I get
So,
that.
I mean,
But I'm just saying
your
there's a
body
positive
your body
electrical
is
energy in you.
okay. Well, there's no doubt about that. That's measurable. That's a
Well, we
fact.
can send Wi-Fi. Why can't we send our thoughts as Wi-Fi. Isn't that where the future is supposedly going here? You know,
Well,
that's where I'm getting
as
at with
far as I
that. Like,
know, there's supposed to be
you
technology that
know, and
there's
if
supposed to
I
be technology available that allows one person to with this technology. You can it's called voice to skull, where they can
yeah,
literally
Yeah.
put thoughts in your mind. I don't know how true that is. This is what I'm hearing.
but I'm
I,
saying if we even just break it down to a basic frequency, like say, I like, have you ever been measured for to see what your positive electricity is? My uncle had a little machine he bought there. It was about 10 years ago, I think. I remember, and he was checking each other in the family. Just stand there and clench your all your muscles in your body, and this thing would get a reading off you of how many like volts you're putting out, basically, right? From
Yeah,
a distance,
it's well,
right?
it's absolutely measurable.
So anyway, in my
I mean, we're
because
talking about
I've
actual electricity, like real energy that we know exists.
yeah, well, it's like it's measuring the electrical aura coming off you, so to speak. It's not actually measuring like a voltage that you're
No, it's measuring a
pointing at. Some
voltage.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's because there's a field around you, so
It's
that's
an
what it's picking up
electromagnetic
on.
field because
Yes,
electromagnetism, electrons, electricity, and
yes,
magnetism,
yeah.
they coexist. They do not exist independently of each other. You
So get
cannot
this.
have magnetism without the movement of electrons, and you cannot move electrons without creating a magnetic field. So
Right,
they
right. I
coexist.
know all this stuff. I know that.
All right, well,
But so
okay.
get this. So my uncle measures of. There's about five of us there, and I went last. So this is why I'm saying about I feel like I'm very positively charged. Anyway, you know what my reading was? Three times what everybody else in the room was. And my uncle and I are built almost identical. We're 4 years apart. We have identical muscular bodies. And I was three times what he was. And he's like, oh my God,
Okay,
you're really high.
so maybe it was
So
winter and you walked across the carpet in your socks. I
no,
mean,
we were all just standing on his hardwood floor. But I'm just saying, back to my point of I've always felt very positively, energetically charged in that respect. That I know I've got this electrical positive charge. But you know, as far as the mental telepathy thing and sending out your positive energies to people, I've always thought that yes, I can send positive energy to that guy, just like I can send him negative energy, whether it be through my voice or whatnot. Right? You
Yeah.
know what it's like.
I
Your your
agree.
your positive, loving voice can totally affect somebody's mood. Or, and I know I have it. My negative, I'm frustrated, angry voice can come out and negatively affect people's
Sure.
just by hearing just maybe the volume or the tone out of my
It's the
voice.
vibrations.
The vibrations, yeah, the frequency, the vibrations, all that good stuff.
And also, like,
So
some
there's
people,
something to it, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying I have proof of it, but I'm just saying there's got to be some more to it that I do think that we can probably somehow learn to heal people, whether it be, well, because what was it, the Egyptians and even further back, they were healing with sound.
yes,
That's where our
Roy,
whole
Roy,
musical
that's
thing, our whole music theory, and it was all based on that, and it was all centered around that
there,
humming and hemming.
wasn't Royal Raymond Rife doing that?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is ancient stuff, right? Sure,
um,
yeah,
there's been lots of people since, but I know that from what I've studied, this was going on. This was the only healing thing they had back then was a certain key, a certain vibration, a hum, om. You know what I mean?
well, if you watch the movie The Pyramid Code, um, a little ways away from the Giza pyramids, there was another pyramid, and they next to the pyramid there were rooms that were built specifically for sound healing, and people laid on tables. I think they were made of crystal quartz, and they also had like obelisks there that were quartz. And so the sound frequency from however they produced this, say music or whatever it was used to heal people. And also, yeah, speaking, singing words, vowels, letters, do have
Phonetics.
healing effects. In fact, I was gonna go for my doctorate, right? This is like in the 80s, and I didn't go. I got married and had kids instead. But what I wanted to do on my doctorate thesis was to write a paper about the healing of through singing and vibration, according to Pythagoras, because Pythagoras said when you're singing, your bones vibrate through the through the sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought was that, probably other people have done this, but my thought at the time was that the vibration changes the molecular structure of
Oh, it sure does.
that which is around it.
It sure
So
does.
that would promote healing. So,
Well,
um,
it sure does. And I've done cymatic experiments, and I've talked about cymatics. I've had shows on completely, entirely based on cymatics,
mhm,
and I've shown at least 2 dozen examples where cymatic experiments can provide the shape and form that is all kinds of biological features, like everything from the spinal column of a human being to the
mhm,
entire skeletal structure of a snake to a turtle shell to the strange patterns on a coat on a giraffe to coral to mollusks.
mhm.
I did a cymatic experiment in my basement, and I did it on camera. I even made a
I
video,
I remember
I
that.
a-
remember it too.
and I made a cherub beetle out of cymatics. So I even have a theory, and I believe it's my own. I don't know if anybody else has come up with this kind of idea, but regarding like abiogenesis, which is one of the biggest questions in science, where does life actually come from? How do we get life from non-life? And I think that cymatics has a lot to do with it, because if you can create physical structure with sound, then um, okay, influence. She got tied up. She'll be back in a bit. So if you can create physical structure with sound, and by the way, they are three-dimensional structures. Okay, so usually in cymatic experiments, you're doing it on a metal plate or a glass table, and it's only 2 dimensions. But keep in mind that the standing wave of the sound wave in cymatics, it's actually a three-dimensional structure. So I'm thinking that perhaps certain amino acids and organic compounds could very easily create their own DNA structure simply through a cymatic type of environment.
It's a
That's
good hypothesis
I think it's worthy of consideration.
for sure.
I do too.
I know
Yeah, there's
that.
got to be something to that. It's like in the Bible, like God spoke, and it's like He spoke everything into
That's right.
existence. You know what I
In
mean?
the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Yep.
Yeah, but who did God tell
And
that
by
to?
the way, hey, hey, by the way, if you like etymology, let's consider the word universe. What does that break that
Yeah,
word down? Universe. One
one
verse.
Song.
verse.
One verse.
Yeah,
Song.
One
one verse.
vocalization.
So that means we are it,
You know what I mean?
and we're not hurtling through space on a spinning ball. Then, if that's
No,
true,
no wonder Shiva. No wonder
because
Shiva.
where's God? Is God chasing us on His ball?
No wonder. No wonder Shiva dances, man. She's dancing to music.
Do you know who Shiva and what's the other one? Brahma and
Vishnu.
Vishnu?
Yeah.
They're all the three phases of the sun.
Yeah.
To me, the closest thing to God in this world to us and to me is the sun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I
That's
don't
why
pray.
it's always been worshipped, and all these religions
Yeah, but I
just worship
j-
under anthropomorphized fictional characters.
just make sure that when you pray that you pray to Joe Pesci.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not into praying. Like that the old Zeppelin lyric there: "Crying won't help you, and praying won't do you no good." Not a big fan of praying, because who are you praying to? You're praying to, most people are praying to Yahweh or Jesus. Well, they're both fictional characters in a book. So what are you praying to? I think we need to get more on this universal level or worldwide level, where we're part of the energy if we're light beings and all this other stuff, right?
Well, I think that's true, and I think sound makes a big deal. I mean, I think it's very important. Sound. A lot of people who are doing music therapy and so forth are using specific pitches to heal certain parts of the body, and are sound therapy. And I studied some for a while because I was offered a position to do music therapy. Unfortunately, something happened, and um, so they lost the building. The people that owned the building, which were mostly doctors, and so I wasn't able to go through with it. But it was a great study. I studied read a lot of books, and it was just amazing about the different sound therapy. So, yeah, frequency, vibration,
I'm wondering
electricity.
if the pyramids might have been the first hospitals. They were, if they were lined with the
Oh,
stars and they're getting a frequency through the portholes there in the top or the side or wherever they are.
you
And like I
know,
said, the sound healing chambers, if they were using it,
are
they
you?
could have been doing that.
Yeah.
Do you guys know, or anybody in the chat? Do you guys know that that geologist, that PhD geologist from Bosnia, who's doing all that research on the Bosnian pyramid? You guys looked into, seen
I
anything on
think I've
that?
yeah, I think I've
I've
seen.
looked into the Bosnian pyramid a bit. Yeah, I
There's
don't remember his name though.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he, he runs tours down in the tunnels that run underneath of that pyramid. And when you get near the center of that pyramid, everybody, like literally everybody, is saying that you can feel some sort of energy that's just it makes your whole body tingle.
Yeah, it's
And
being trapped in there.
and they've detected like negative ions, which have been proven to be good for you, and all kind of cool stuff going on with that pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same. People, yeah, we're a battery and we need charging and we need discharging. If you're positive, you charge, you need to discharge, and the negative ion. I
Just
think
take
it's
your
all
shoes
pretty.
and socks off and walk out into the grass for a minute and go ground yourself.
Oh, dude, I run around my property naked in the summertime.
Yeah,
Seriously,
too much information.
I actually extended just so I can get as much sun as I can and grounded. In the last few years that I'm not saying I run around totally naked. I'm just saying I'm in my shorts and bare feet all the time in the summertime. And speaking of which, it's over now. We just got winter today, but yeah, no, I feel so awesome when I'm standing naked in the sun. I just feel like I'm being charged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's my best time of the years when the sun is out full swing. Even in the wintertime, it could be 30 below. And believe me, in Canada, we see a lot of 30, 40 below. And I'll just stare right at the sun and I can feel it heating my face up when it's 30 below outside. It's not warming up the cold black steel that I'm right beside, but my face is getting warm. That sun is connected to us. And sorry, Aaron, I don't think for one cotton picking second that it's 93 million miles away. I'll never believe that. You can never sell me on that bullshit. Sorry.
Well, I'm going to stand with Rufus.
And I'm not
Yeah,
going to
you
turn
guys,
this
you guys, you
conversation
guys
into a.
stick to your main. No, I don't want to get into no flat Earth, ball Earth. I have a connection to the sun that it's too close for your liking.
Well, I do like my balls, and we'll leave it there.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
You guys can have your mainstream Masonic beliefs. I'm out on that one. There's much more going on in this world than that simpleton CGI cartoon stuff we get told.
Well, I guess after we all die and meet up at the great bar in heaven, we can all have a laugh
Well,
when we figure out
I
what
don't
it's
know
really
about
about.
heaven and hell. I believe they're made up man-made stuff. But what I do think is there's something to the light at the end that everybody talks about. And I, for one, I'm going to buck the trend. I'm going to put this out there. I'm not going into the light. If we're light beings, I'm going to go be the light. I'm not going into that light. I think it's if this soul thing and all this energy stuff, maybe it is a trap. I'll
Yep.
take my chances, and if my chances aren't going to be any good, then we'll go into the light at the end.
Yeah, the way
That's
I got it worked. The way
that's
I
If there
got it
is anything,
that's
if there
assuming you
is
can
anything
change
at
your
the end,
mind. That's assuming
that's
that
if
you.
there is anything.
the way I've got it worked is if that's really the love and all of that it's supposed to be, if
Yeah.
I go the other direction, that love isn't going to change. And if I decide, well, gee, I probably should have gone that direction, I'll be accepted.
Well, I've
If it isn't, if it won't accept me, it isn't what it's said to be.
exactly. And if it's just a light, like most people can't handle the light. You see how many people run around with sunglasses? I don't think they're going to be able to handle that light.
Yeah, I know.
There's something else too. I quit wearing sunglasses about 4 years ago now, and I started sun gazing in the evenings. Where my house is, I can only do it in the evening when it's setting in the west because I'm surrounded by trees. By the time it gets over the trees behind me here in the east, it's too bright, right? It's 10, 11 o'clock in the daytime. But it's funny because where I've been working here lately, I'm looking off into a field and watching the sun appear at the edge of the field, basically. What I don't know, it's 30 or 40, 50 miles away. And so I've been, and all the guys that are in trucks, there's like a dozen of us. Every single one of them is wearing sunglasses, and they're all like, "Oh my God, the light is so bright, I can't see." And I'm driving into this glaring sun at 7 in the morning with no sunglasses on, and I have no problem with it. I'm totally adjusted to this light.
How do you feel since you were in that light? I mean, have you noticed any changes since you've been doing this
Oh yeah,
sungazing?
like I say, I feel so positive, and like I'm connected to it.
Yeah.
This whole skin cancer puts SPF 9,000 on your skin. I think this is where a lot of our skin cancers are coming
Oh,
from.
it is absolutely. In fact, they've done studies to show that the fucking shit that you're supposed to slather on to protect you from the sun actually has carcinogens built into it. And I forget what there's a
Yep.
there's a term for. I'll think of it in a minute. There's a product that they put into those that's supposed to make it more absorbable into your skin, and that particular product is actually one of the most carcinogenic things
Now,
that's in there. So
now,
sure.
don't get me wrong. I know that if you're in the sun for too long, especially people that are fair skinned and aren't most like my daughter and wife, they're so freaking white you can pretty near see through them, and they're afraid to be in the sun. I said, well, you have to moderate yourself into it and build yourself up a tan, right? Look at us when we were younger, framing houses 10, 12 hours a day with our naked backs to the sun, sweating, getting
Yep.
roasted. I
Dude,
should have cancer on my back. I should have cancer on my left
every
arm from having
every
trucker's arm.
every
But no, I
Aborigine
don't.
in Australia and every, native African should just be dripping with skin cancer.
Yep.
Well,
I would like to
here's a
see
funny one.
I would like to see some genuine studies to see how many of those people who spend literally all day practically naked except for a loincloth in the open sun of Australia and Africa, how many of those people coming down with skin cancer?
Yeah.
I
Here's
don't
here's a
believe
here's a
there's
funny one for you. One of the guys at work. Guess where he's from? East India. I think he's from Bangladesh. So we were talking, and one of the other guys said to him, "Oh, you're brown." I said, "He's not brown. He's tanned." He says, "Yeah, right. Oh no, all those Indians are all brown." I said, "Yeah, yeah. I think he's just tanned." Sure enough, he says he's right, and he lifted up his shirt, and he was bone white underneath, except for his face and his arms. And him from East India. So see a lot like you see them; they have brown arms and brown faces, but you don't see them naked much, right? Down to their shorts. A lot of those cultures really hide themselves from the sun. You know what I mean? They're no different than white people here in North America. Most of the people I know nowadays, they're fucking scared shitless of the sun. They cannot let the kid out the door without slathering it up. And yet, when we were kids, we were out running around naked in our shorts all the time. We were getting sunburnt, blistered,
I
right?
yep. I remember one summer when we were at Lake Tahoe, and I was out every day splashing around in the water and looking for crawdads and stuff like that. And by the end of the summer, somebody made mention of the fact that I looked like I was a Negro. I was that dark. And
And you know,
I'm very white.
and you know, I've watched my own body over the years because of different lines of work and what you're doing at certain times that you don't get a lot of sun sometimes. And I've watched myself go from very tanned, my whole body, what except for maybe my underwear line. You know, of course, you get the white ass, and you know. But I've watched my whole body be completely tanned over the years to go through a different phase of line of work where I'm not getting sun anymore or as much as I used to, and my whole body go back to being white again. Well, here in the last bunch of years, I've been like a sun dog. I'm just out there every day, as much sun as I can get. Love it. And now I'm more dark than the East Indians that are here I'm working with.
Wow.
Right?
Well, that's
It's just,
saying a lot for a Canadian.
oh yeah. Like, I mean, people ask me, are you Indian? Are you Native? Because I'm so dark skinned. It's because I get lots of sun and I'm not afraid of it. I love it. I look forward to it. When everybody's like, oh, I got to get out of the sun, I'm like, not me. I love it. More the merrier. And I think we need it. If there's any healing aspects to the sun, well, hey, I haven't been sick in a long time. And I've been
Vitamin
getting a lot
D.
more. Well, you know what they say too, especially us Canadians, we're cooped up all winter long, or, even when you're outside, the only thing that's getting any sun is your face, right?
Yeah.
But most people that are outside working in -20 weather and all the snow, we're not getting much sun on our face either, really, because you're head down, ass up. You're not looking up.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a firm, but you got to get as much sun as you can. I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people there's so much cancers now, is that people have been brainwashed into being afraid of it. I think it's a healer,
Yeah.
That in the goop that
especially when I'm sun gazing at night. When I'm sun gazing at night, I can see the rays coming from the sun and back to the sun. It's really weird, and I just feel this. I feel different. I feel charged and positive, and you know,
That's
not
great.
invincible, but you know what I mean.
hmm
So I think there's something to the energy and the light.
well, it would make sense if the psychopaths in control want to keep us sickly and needing these quote medical unquote services to put a lie out that the sun is bad for you and don't go in it and slather this cancerous crap all over yourself if you're going out. It,
Well,
it's
and you
it's to
look at
their
these psychopathic rulers too. They're all pasty white dudes.
well, most of them, although they're
Most of them, yes.
you know but hey, I just don't know. I don't know.
I've worked with people here in Canada. They're from Africa, that are the darkest of the dark. I don't use the word black anymore because I understand the psyops that went on with the black thing. But anyway, I've worked with guys here that no word of a lie. They're cold when it's only 20 degrees and they're dressed up and they're not getting sun. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
where I've got my t-shirt off and these guys are bundled up and wearing coveralls, full sleeves, and a toque,
Yeah.
because they were so used to their hot environment. Doesn't mean they were getting much sun. You know what I mean?
It'll
Just
take
look
them a
just look
while.
at the Arabs. Look how they dress. They're completely covered from the sun, running around with their bedspreads over them. You know what I mean? Even their women are covered up in a sheet and the sheet over their head. Like a lot of these cultures that are supposedly in the equator zone and more sun than everybody else, they're not getting much sun themselves. A lot of them, if you look at it, not like I get. Fuck, the second the sun's out, I'm getting naked. I'm going outside.
Well,
You know what I mean?
maybe in the Middle East, but not in sub-Saharan Africa and not in Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean that sort of negates your point. I mean, just because, sure, there's lots of sun, there's deserts in the Middle East, and the Bedouins, they run around with sheets covering themselves up. Um, I understand that they do that for a reason, and that reason has to do with sweat retention. Um,
Yeah, no, I get that too. Yeah,
and as far
but
as the women go, that's a religious, cultural thing. Has really nothing to do with, you know,
no, no, and I get that too. But my point is
has nothing to
in
do
these
with the
cultures.
sun.
No, but I'm just saying, even in these cultures with all this religious stuff and garb and everything, if you just look at it, those people aren't getting much sun, even though they're in it just as much as, we get 15 hours of sunlight here in the summer too, right? Close to 16. We get we get just as hot here. It gets gotten very hot here in this country too. I mean, our summers aren't cold. Mind you, this one was a cool one, but
I think the
we've got
summers are much hotter in the Middle East. Much much hotter. They're gonna go up 120 plus maybe.
we get that here. We get our heat waves here where it's smoldering hot and the frickin' country's on fire.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges on who's hotter and who's not. I'm just saying, you know, if you look at the way they dress, they don't actually, although maybe hotter there, they're not getting that much sun the way they dress. I
Sure.
understand why they dress that way. Yes, the sweat retention, everything else. But I'm just saying, here we're running around naked in that same blistering heat with the sun, clear skies. You know what I'm saying? So it seems like maybe they're just as afraid of the sun as a lot of people here. So that's my point. Is where I'm not afraid of it at all. I absorb as much of it as I can get, and I've felt really healthy the last bunch of years since I've changed my I don't know my habits to where I make it a point to get out in the sun. Instead of
Yeah.
just coming home and getting on the couch after work. Hey, the sun's still out. I'm going to go out and get some sun because I didn't get much today. I was at work.
Hmm.
But then on the weekends, I'm like, you'll find me out in the backyard running around with just shorts on and getting tons of sun all the time.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't know. I think there's something to that healing aspect of it.
if I could rein in the ropes on this conversation a little bit, try to bring it back to Reiki while I've got Allison on the phone.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, didn't mean to get off
no,
topic
that's
there.
fine. I don't mind a good conversation going where it wants to. And you know me, Blue, and we often get sidetracked and sometimes for hours on end. And I
Well,
genuinely
that's
don't.
what us knuckleheads do.
Yeah, no, I genuinely don't mind. But I do have a couple of other questions I wanted to throw at Allison before we wrap this up, or maybe trying to kill some time while maybe hopefully influence can come in if she can manage the time. Um, um, but by the way, before I do, I want to address Eamon Padama. Hey, Eman and I are sort of chatting in the side chat about evolution regarding particularly my abiogenesis theory. He made a comment, and I hope it's a he, and if I'm wrong, then please forgive me. Um, I'm speaking to you, Eman. I honestly don't know if I think you're a man, but I don't know for sure. Um, Richard Dawkins said that Darwin made it possible to be an intellectually fulfilled atheist. Now Darwin's theory looks false, so the logical corollary of what Dawkins said is that life looks designed. Um, well, if that's hmm, so the logical corollary of what Dawkins said is so did Dawkins say did Dawkins come out and say life looks designed? I know he may have said it looks designed, but something that looks designed doesn't mean that it is designed. But here's the thing I wanted to throw out there because I, you know, a couple of weeks ago we did a show on cannibalism, and after that show was over, I discovered an article. I think it goes back to 2014, I think. So maybe 5 years ago, Richard Dawkins was actually suggesting that we should get over our taboo and that human meat in laboratory grown human meat could be the solution to the cow fart scenario, the global warming climate change bullshit. The that I couldn't fucking believe it. Dawkins is is someone that I admire greatly. And when I saw this, I literally took a shit on my computer. I literally dropped trowel and just shit right on my computer. I couldn't fucking believe what I was looking at.
I
Um,
don't admire any of these talking heads.
well, I'm sorry, I do admire some of them, until I don't, right? Until you until you learn something that's like, wait a minute, stop the presses. But
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I saw. Um, thanks for not misgendering you. Hey, as long as you don't mind if I say, hey guys. Anyway, I know you guys
I,
probably saw that.
yes, I have no
Yeah.
problems with gay guys. Hey,
All right.
I've got the anonymous female version on there, so I guess that makes me a guy, right?
I I could just go through the whole gamut of pronouns: he, she, him, her, it, us, they. I could just call everybody it from now on. Apparently,
Oh,
it
Aaron,
seems.
stop insulting everybody. I don't like how you just pronounced me, dude.
I want you to use the pronoun fliggle, okay?
Fliggle.
Yeah, just call me Fliggle, okay?
Okay, so it's LGBTIQ
F.
F for
That's
Fliggle.
right. I'm Fliggle.
And I would like to
Oh,
add
this
to that list. I would like to add MICKEYMOU.
MOUNC.
Okay. All right. Had our fun. So
all these
Alice,
pronouns.
so Allison, and I'm not digging on you with this. This is something that I heard somebody else say. Another supposed Reiki master, as I was doing some research looking to find just some cursory information on what it is, what it's about, and to see who is out there talking about these types of, basic explanations, introductory explanations. Um, let me see. This one person was saying things like, let me see. Uh, Besides the obvious, it's a Japanese relaxation technique. She said it relaxes you in such a way that it begins to remove blocks. And then she said, you might ask what a block is. And she says it's described as a trauma or a grief. Maybe you lost a pet or a loved one or a breakup or a divorce. And she said it involves heavy energies. And then she said thicker energies, that these heavy energies and thick energies get stuck in the body. And that to me just sounds like some dog shit Deepak Chopra woo woo nonsense. And that just makes if there's anything to Reiki, if there's anything legitimate to Reiki, the people out there who talk like this just ruin it. And I just sort of wanted to get your opinion on that.
Um, that's interesting. My teacher, as far as my teacher goes, he never discussed blocks like this. But basically, you're trying to balance the energy in the body and get it moving. I mean, I suppose it's possible for blocks. Sometimes energy does feel a little heavier, but I don't find it with Reiki so much as with other healing modalities that I do. But that's
What does it mean to have an energy that feels heavy? What does that even mean?
um
I feel like I'm
uh,
listening to Deepak Chopra when people talk like that.
well, I mean, I think how can I describe this? Um, it's very, very thick. Does it make sense? Or like,
No, you're not. No, do
I
better.
don't know how to describe it. I mean, I know in
Use your words.
my auric clearing technique, when the energy is extremely negative, it's very hard to get the flow and get it moving. Um, and what you're trying to do is get negative stuff off of people's auras and stuff like this. And, sometimes it can be very, very difficult. It can be very tiring. I know I've had times when I've done Reiki for a lot of people. I used to go on Facebook and just say anybody need Reiki and blah blah blah, and so I'd be sending it to tons of people that said yeah, and but I wasn't charging myself up, and so I found myself depleted. But on the other hand, the other type of healing that I do, it's very easy to get depleted because it takes a lot longer to do, and oftentimes I got to clear myself and uh, of anything because you kind of suck stuff onto you. It's a lot of hoo hoo to you probably, but it's sort of quantum stuff. And yeah, it's sort of Deepak Chopra y, but I don't think he does that particular form of healing. Yeah, people that do different types of energy feeling will feel that there's blockages or something's not moving or something's stuck. Um, I haven't felt that with Reiki. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Do you want to offer an opinion on people who use that sort of language to describe Reiki in such a way as to literally turn people like me, just turn me right off?
Well, I mean,
I mean, I
Reiki.
understand, and I'm not putting it on you. I understand that not everybody is the most, communicative and with the largest vocabulary and the best communicator type people out there.
Well, they're
Um,
trying to sell their product too. You got to understand that. So everybody's got to make themselves sound better than the other one. But and I'm not trying to criticize
no,
that
that's a
person
really good,
either.
no, that's definitely a good point.
And that's a lot of reasons why I think there's more types of Reiki and people are channeling more symbols and people have certain guides and their guides are better than your guides and all this crap. I just do the basic thing and I don't really pay much attention to everybody else's stuff. But
So what's, I'm sorry, finish your sentence.
it's okay. Go ahead. Ask away.
Hey, Blue, mute your mic next time you go to the bathroom.
Well, I thought I just did. Well, piss on you guys.
Uh,
Oh God.
peace on earth and piss on you.
I'm sorry. I thought for sure I hit the button there before I come to the bathroom.
Yeah, I was feeling this urge to go to the bathroom really bad, and I was whoa.
Oh
Um,
boy. So you were
No,
saying,
I'm a boy. When I go, I gotta go, and I don't care where it is or who's hearing it.
Roof.
um, Jesus, I lost my train of thought. The sound of urination just sort of took it right out of me.
It'll come back. But yeah, I mean,
I
I think.
apologize.
It just got pissed away.
Hey, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining.
Yeah. Well, I was in the rain all day, so I know what that's like.
Hang on, I'm looking at my notes here, and I thought I had something else at you. Um, where, let's see, try to get back on the train of thought here. Um, okay, you said people have to sell their, wares, right? They have to make themselves sound good. They have stuff to sell, right? Their services, maybe books. Um,
Well, let me just add to that if I can.
sure.
Um, People also use Reiki to heal emotional issues or situational issues. Um, it's not always just used to heal physical issues. Some people use Reiki on inanimate objects. Um, Supposedly, you could use it for anything. Primarily, I use it for working in healing mode, but I admit I did use it on my car at times when it wouldn't start.
And did it work?
Well, I guess it did. I mean, I didn't have a battery tester with me, but I used to go to my sister's up in Maine every weekend practically, and so I'd stop in Elliott, which was about halfway up, where I was going and to the Dunkin' Donuts there and get a coffee and make a pit stop. And I'd come back to the car and the car wouldn't start. I had this old Lincoln, which I loved and I wish I never got rid of. But anyway, it just wouldn't start. So I'd sit there for maybe 20 minutes and Reiki the car. And then it would start up and I would continue on to my sister's. And that was just about every weekend that car would do that
Well,
until it finally died. But it could be that, it was low and then there was a little charge in it. I don't know, and it needed to sit. I know that happens sometimes. So I can't really claim that it was Reiki, but I did give Reiki energy to the car.
well, I got a really bad joke for you.
Okay.
It is fall season, and the leaves are turning and starting to fall. I was just wondering if I could use Reiki on my leaves.
How so?
He wants to Reiki his leaves up.
Oh, duh. That flew over my head. That's so funny. Jeez.
Sorry, that's a really bad joke. I know.
I like it. I think it's funny. I bet you there's a lot of people who would like to Reiki their leaves.
Well, Donald Trump said that we should rake our leaves to prevent, brush fires. So.
Mhm.
Oh, no talk about raking leaves. My yard just filled up today with leaves. I hate raking leaves. That's why I bought a blower. I just blow them in the neighbor's yard now.
I'm gonna need to Reiki my leaves soon.
So, Roof, was there another question that you had?
I thought I did, but Blue Blood took it right out of me when he flushed the toilet.
Okay. All right. Well, if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, if you're going to be thinking about me pissing all night now, aren't you?
Oh, you're not going to live this down for a long time.
That's okay. I'll take all the ribbon I can take.
That's funny.
Allison.
Yes.
What about this? I have been having some lung problems, and I was wondering if you would be willing to send me some Reiki, and I can report back on what I experience.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll do it, Amy. I'll do it.
Aaron send you my email. You have my email?
I can. If she doesn't have it, I can give it to her.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that we've been in contact.
Yeah, but
wise.
yeah, send me an email. Send me your location.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll do that. I'll get back to you with email, and we'll do 3 treatments and see what happens.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds awesome.
I can't promise anything will happen, but we'll see if something does, or if you feel it, or whatever.
So if anybody in the chat has a question for Allison about Reiki, type now or forever hold your, shall I say, peace?
Or peas.
We know Blue was already holding his peace a minute ago.
Hey, they give us a toy to play with. Damn it, we're playing with it.
I think James Washman is really awesome, though. I just wanted to say, I think it's really worth looking at some of his videos. He's got some really interesting things going on. I think it's something that everybody would enjoy that's into physics. I never took physics in school. So to me, it was quite profound, and there was a lot of quantum type things he was talking about.
I just see a lot of toilet emojis popping up in the chat.
I can't see the chat where I'm at, so it's funny to hear this.
Funny how my piss energy is affecting everybody.
Yeah, remotely no less.
Mm,
at a distance.
through the old Ethernet.
Ethernet. I like that.
Oh, really? We can send a lot of shit through the air nowadays, can't we?
Hmm.
It's all radio waves, man. My piss is full of radio waves.
Are you are you in French Canada? Oui, oui,
Oh no, Tabernacle, no,
oui, oui.
no. That Quebec is in the east. I'm in the west.
No, wee.
No, no, oui, oui.
No, wee.
Yeah, the main Catholic metropolis is in Quebec. The French Catholics over there in Quebec. I used to truck in and out of Quebec, and check this out. I used to haul hydro switches to the different utility places in small town areas of Quebec, and I learned two things in French. I hated French in school. I still hate it. Can't stand it. We should ban it. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. I learned two things. I learned two French sentences when I started trucking into Quebec back in the early '90s, and it was how to order breakfast and how to ask where to park the truck. That's the only two things I needed to know. And you know the other thing I learned about the French in Quebec? Well, most of them are dual. They know both. Is that, man, they're the most two-faced people I've ever met is in Quebec.
Wow.
Especially in Montreal, if they know French and English and you ask them something in English, they'll start talking French and pretend that they don't know. But then if you go into northern Quebec, where all they know is French, they'll do their damnedest. You might not understand what they're saying, but they'll do their damnedest to help you and guide you.
Aw.
But go to Montreal. Yeah, totally different.
Je parle un petit peu.
Yeah, I'm not into French. We got some French in our family. I can't stand being around them at Christmas because we all speak English. They all speak English, and they'll sit around in their little group talking French. I hate that. Qu'est-ce que c'est? What are you talking about? I know enough French to pick certain things out. I don't ever want to be fluent in it to begin with because I just don't like the language. I just don't. To me, it's just a bunch of English backwards anyway.
I took French for a number of years, and I loved the language. And I have now forgotten most of it. So
even as a young kid, they rammed that shit down our throats when we were kids, and we wanted nothing to do with it. But it's still part of the program here in Canada. You got to ram the French down everybody's throats, even though they're the minority language in this country now. There's more Chinese here now than there are French. There's more Indians than there are French. But yeah, we got to have French. If you look at all of any product in Canada, it has to have French as well as English on it.
I had to study French for quite a while, and especially where I was going to school to sing classical music. And actually, it was one of my favorite languages to sing in. And Amy, like you, I totally forgot a lot of it because I haven't used a lot of it for quite some time.
yeah, it's been decades and decades, man. I wish I remembered more. You know, I sit there and somebody says, "Well, what does this French word mean?" And I'll go, "It's familiar. Hang on, let me go to Google Translate."
Yeah, I gotta look it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the requirements too of our politicians are to work for the Catholic Canadian government here. You have to know French. You have to be bilingual in this country to have anything to do with government stuff. It's funny how that's a requirement, yet it's the minority language in this country.
Wow.
Right? Sad. That's the way the world's gone, the way. Everything minority gets precedence now, eh?
Yeah.
Everything minority gets the ultimate treatment.
You know, I was just wondering if they can force French onto the majority. I'm wondering, do they force English onto the French minority?
No. Here's a prime example of French in Canada. The border of Quebec and Ontario. You have Ottawa, go up that line, and there's a lot of French in Ontario. But if you go into those towns, it's English on the signs, and then they'll have a little French extra. But go into Quebec, and it's French on everything and very little English on top of it. You know, the road signs, sud, nord, est, ouest. You know, it's not north, south, east, and west. It's in French. All the road signs are in French. All your streets, your rues, and all that, it's all French. And they want to separate. They still want to separate and break up Canada. And you know, the rest of us, we're cheering them on. Go for it. You want to be on your own, have your own little French country? Go for it. Because the first province that's going to separate from this country is the one I'm in, Alberta, the oil province, because we're giving all of our money to support Quebec and all their initiatives. You know what I mean? They're sucking money out of this province. So if you ever see Canada break up, the first one that'll be broken free will be this province. Because we want nothing to do with Quebec here. This country is not as unified as people think it is. Really, not much.
Well, guys, let's think about wrapping this up. Do you want to pop off your final thoughts?
Well, on the energy thing, there's something to it. Now, as far as the healing aspect of it, you know, like I said, I really do hope there's something to it, and I do feel that there is something to it, because, like I said, I when people are needing and help, and I can send out some positive vibes to them, whether it's energy or if it's just my thoughts, and it's getting through to them in some way that we don't know and can't explain. I really hope that's true, because I really try to do that, and I'm going to have to do it here now, going forward with my daughter, because she's completely devastated and traumatized. And the only thing that can help her is, you know, positive thoughts and energy, I would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you say. Saying doesn't change anything. It's
is this her first child?
Actually, she was pregnant last year, and she miscarried at about 2.5 months or something like that. The baby didn't develop a heartbeat, so this time the pregnancy took, and we just went here a few weeks ago to, they had this new 3D, 4D, 5D ultrasound where we went and sat in, and they can live stream it to everybody, and you actually see the baby, and it's in somewhat color. You know what I mean? It's really good. It's really good technology they got now. So we were seeing the baby, seeing her smile. We knew it was a girl. She's already was named, and today she's dead. Fuck.
I am so sorry.
Yeah. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't come on here tonight because I wanted any sympathy for the situation. What I wanted to talk about was what my mom said when I gave her the information. And she said, and how many times have we all heard this? Well, maybe it wasn't meant to be and it wasn't in God's plan. I said, Mom, take that bullshit line and don't ever say it to me again about anything in this world, because it's a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah.
You're telling me that that wasn't God's plan to have her have this baby. She's already full term, and it was due in a few days.
Then God's
so
an
it was
abortionist.
God's plan to get her pregnant. God's plan to get her pregnant, and then God's plan to have her fucking traumatized and devastated. Because I'll tell you what, if there's something to do with this,
if it wasn't meant to be, God could have stopped it before she was pregnant. Don't go there.
Exactly. So, my sentiments today, based on what my mom said, it angered me almost instantly, because I'm so sick of this God's plan bullshit. And I thought to myself, you know what? If there's something after this, after we're dead in this body and then we carry on, if there's something to that, man, if there's some God that's responsible for the fucking suffering, I'm going to go look for that motherfucker. We got some explaining to do. You know what I mean? If there's gods responsible for this world that are in charge of certain whatever, there's been one, there's been many. I'll tell you, man, I'm looking for them when I get out of here.
Yeah, that's horseshit, Blue. That's horseshit, Blue. That would
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That kind of stuff
I don't put too much into it, Bruce.
Me too.
I don't put too much thought into it. I've cleared my conscience of all these bullshit beliefs we've been fed our whole lives about God and all this other stuff. Like I said, I've made my connection with the sun here lately, and that's my connection. Like George Carlin said, you know what? I'm going to worship the sun. I don't worship the sun. I have this connection with it now, and I feel better about that, and it's simple. I don't put too much thought in, or I definitely don't put any beliefs into, as much as I'd like to be true, this afterlife and the reincarnation and all this stuff and the positive energy and the healing and all that. Great. If there's something to it, great. But I can't back it, because we cannot, there's nothing to back it with. You know what I mean? Now, for many years of my life, I thought when you died, that's it, lights out, she's game over. If that's right, so be it. If it's something else, so be it. I guess we'll see what we'll see, or we won't. Right? But I do think there's something more going on than just us hurtling through fucking mindless space and we're all here by accident. This place is too weird for that to be true either. So I don't put too much in anything. My mind is open. I keep looking for answers and truths, and usually the simplest thing tends to be the best logical answers that you can think of. You don't need to have somebody else tell you all the answers, because as far as I'm concerned about this earth, this realm that we're living in, whatever it is, to me, if you ask me, I think it's totally unexplainable, and anybody that thinks they can explain it is usually full of shit. That's why I said I'm not a flat earther, I'm not a ball earther. I'm starting a new meme. I'm a box earther, because I think this world is a box full of shit.
Well,
Just my thoughts.
I largely, almost entirely agree. I think probably entirely.
Yeah. We put too much thought into stuff that we can't even come up with an answer for. Nobody can come up with an answer for most of the shit that we always talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we all have egos, which means that some of us who are unaware of the potency of our own ego and how it will often prevent us from saying the phrase, I don't know, that people will
Yeah,
make shit up before they'll say, I don't know.
exactly. And I'm to that point. We've all searched and looked at everything there is to look at in this life, all the research we can do about any subject under the sun. And really, what answers have we come up with? In the last bunch of years, I've really tried to work on my ego, because I used to believe stuff, and you repeat it to the next guy. If you're repeating bullshit, you're repeating lies. No wonder it becomes truth, right? So I've really tried to get away from that repetition, and just tried to rein in my own ego on that. And like you say, it's cleaned my conscience out. I've gotten rid of a lot of stupid beliefs that I know are bullshit now. But the thing is I think I'm mostly just trying to get a hold of myself and rein myself in sometimes on passing off stuff that I believed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people just need to get comfortable with the phrase, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's cool. It's a
Yeah.
respectable thing to say. You don't know? Just say so.
And at the same time, when I'll say I don't know, but at the same time, I still reserve the right to call bullshit when I think I see it. You know what I mean?
So, Allison,
Yeah.
final thoughts, dear. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been really nice to be on here with you all. Um, my final thoughts. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. It was pretty informational, and it's interesting to see how we agreed on some things. And I hope that it was a learning experience for everybody, one way or the other. And Blue, I think what you had to say makes a lot of sense. And I think, in a way, that's a form of quote unquote Reiki that you're doing, um, healing yourself that way. And um, I think that's amazing. And I like the idea of you sending the positive energy to people. I keep on keeping on. Um, I don't know. I just wish everybody Reiki blessings. I wish everybody a good weekend and a good week, and everybody stay healthy. And like you say, pick up your trash.
Mm, are you going to help me Reiki my leaves?
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, it was nice talking to you too, Allison.
I know,
Finally.
I know you were initially worried about coming on and being dragged through the mud too much. So I hope my dumb jokes didn't get under your skin.
Oh,
I
I
hope I
think
didn't
they're
say anything to
funny.
offend you.
No, you said nothing to offend me. Thank you. It was very pleasant to have this conversation. Thank you.
Cool.
You
Amy?
just have to you have to understand that Rufus, especially me too, he's addicted to logic,
Yep.
which isn't a bad thing.
You know,
Critical thinking is a good thing.
I do
If you ask
acknowledge
me.
that there are energies. I acknowledge that we are creatures who couldn't operate without energy. There are energies that we can absolutely identify: heat energy, radiant energy, electrical energy, electromagnetism. And I'm just wondering, I'm genuinely curious what. And I know that there are other energies in the universe, and we're all swimming in a sea of energy. There's no doubt about that. This is testable, provable, knowable. We do know these things. I just wonder how much of that is genuine woo woo, because I know a lot of people get on the woo woo bandwagon, and like you said, Blue, you start repeating something that's not necessarily true, and ultimately you're basically spreading lies, not knowingly necessarily, but you're spreading
Right.
information that's just not true. And, we want to believe that we can heal. We want to believe that we can manipulate energy and help. We all want to help people, unless you're a fucking psychopath, of course. But I just caution people against, falling for or believing in anecdotes. And look, I get it. A good story is a good story. I get it.
And spreading false hope too
I
is
get
another
it.
one.
A good story is a good story, but it's just a fucking story. It's just an anecdote. It's not evidence or proof. And I don't care if it's coming out of the mouth of a PhD. I don't care. I was
Hmm.
recently having a comment section debate with some people about near-death experiences, and this guy sent me a bunch of links to a bunch of lectures and interviews on near-death, and this PhD guy was talking about all these stories and anecdotes, and ultimately what it wound up being was just a giant pile of anecdotes. Okay, until I can see the hard science. To me, it's just a story. Stories are cool. They're entertaining. They're interesting. They're thought provoking, but they're not evidence, for Christ's sake. And I would caution people to not put too much stock in a good story. I don't care if it is
And
how good a story.
evidence isn't proof, right? Proof is proof. Evidence is just part of the proof. It's not evidence isn't proof.
I think that there's a lot yet that we haven't discovered in science, and that there's eventually more will be able to be explained and proven the way you want it to be. But
I
right
think so too.
now,
Good point.
the only thing that I can give you of physical proof is what uh oh, what's his name, Oshman said, and some smaller studies which basically, said that they did some blind studies which, Reiki helped improve pain and for some people, and made them more relaxed and lowered the blood pressure. But you figure you do that in a relaxed environment anyway.
To that effect, I had some pretty bad injuries, some surgeries, and of course you get the Oxycontins and the Tylenol 4s. About 5 or 6 years ago, I realized none of this shit was working for me. I didn't feel any better. I was just becoming addicted to pills, so I just cut it out. And I'll tell you, I started to get more into the positive, thinking I can heal myself, and I've been healthy ever since.
Hmm.
So I'll never put another pill in my mouth ever, and I don't care what I have, what I've been given, what I contracted, or anything. Like this finger right here, right now, I'm not taking anything for it. If it gets infected, then we'll deal with it, whatever way
Well,
possible. But I'm not
it is
taking
infected.
shit.
It is infected. That's
No,
why
no,
it's
it's not
swelled up.
infected. Well, I mean, yeah, if you call that, I just mean, to the point where, ooh, it's getting ugly. Right now, it's just swollen. It's not like gangrene. I've had some infections on my fingers from smashing with hammers and screws and everything else, but, I've always healed. I've always healed myself, you know. A lot of things I should have went to the doctor for, and I didn't. They healed. I don't know why. I healed well. But anyway, I'm not into taking man-made crap that may or may not work and get you addicted to it later on. Like my brother right now is totally addicted to shit because of an accident. Now he's fucked. Now he's addicted to a plethora of pharmaceuticals, and that's his excuse for the situation. And now I offered him some suggestions to try. Not willing to try it. Why? Because now he's addicted to this stuff.
Amy, final thoughts there.
I've been sort of waiting for that. My final thoughts. First of all, Allison, I did send an email. I thank you very much for being with us, and I thank you, Blue, and my love and my caring goes out to your sister.
No,
And
my daughter.
I'm sorry, your daughter. My mistake, your daughter.
Appreciate it,
And,
Amy. Thanks.
and
And I'm sending you more healing vibes.
oh, thank you so
Or
much.
I'm just sending you my good vibes.
Awesome.
And whatever they do for you, they do for you. That's all I
Thank
can
you.
say. You're welcome.
And as always, love always.
Yeah.
You guys know my final thoughts. Allison nearly nailed it. Be good to each other. And for God's sakes, pick up your fucking trash.
Yes. Don't forget your fucking trash.
And with that, I will be closing the stream. And you guys in the Hangout, you can stay for a few minutes. Our good friend Josh on Ray of Creation channel, he's going to be starting up his stream in a few minutes. I'm pretty sure he usually does. So we're going to go ahead and kill this here, and you guys in the Hangout can stick around for a minute. And after that, if you want to hang out, then that's where we'll be, is over on Josh's channel. And so there it is, everybody. Be good to each other and pick up your damn trash. And we will see you next week.
Thank you, Roof.
Thanks.